thought about basketball and how you can improve shooting and be the best player you can be. The goal of the sport is what? The goal of the sport is to score the basketball. And LeBron James has scored the basketball 50,000 points. I'm here to tell you today that I'm done entertaining the conversation. There is no more debate. There is no more conversation about who the best ever is.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, the only reason why LeBron has the most number of points is because he's going to play until he's 80. The dude does not stop. He does not know when to step away from the game. Most of the greats step away from the game when they're, in their late 30s, mid-30s. They're like, okay, I've had enough. I've made my trillions. I'm going to go off and do something else. LeBron James, I'm telling you, he needs to get a life. He needs something else to do with his time other than go out there and score in an NBA where nobody plays any defense. Nobody can foul anybody hard. Nobody can beat and bang. And it made it as easy as possible. It's like the NBA has just rolled out the red carpet for this guy. He plays. He's played more seasons than anybody else who's even anywhere around him when it comes to the most prolific scorers. And by that metric by itself, he has the most number of points, but he doesn't even rank in the top 2 when it comes to most prolific scoring on a season-by-season average.
So he didn't have the greatest season ever, but he is the greatest
No, it's
ever.
not the greatest season ever. It's the greatest average season.
Well, the reality
over the course
of it is
career.
The reality is everything you just said goes into the argument of he's the best. He's played longer than anybody. At 40 years old, he's aged like a fine wine, and he's only getting better. That's the thing. Most people hang it up when they start to see a decline in their game. LeBron James has not seen a decline whatsoever. So when you talk about what he did last night, he now has 50,033 points, Diesel. Kareem is in second. Karl Malone is in third. Kobe Bryant's fourth. MJ is fifth with 38,000 points, followed by Dirk, KD, Wilt, Julius Erving, and Shaq at 10. I want to be very clear. I have the utmost respect for everybody who is in the conversation, the Kobes of the world, the Bill Russells, the Wilts, the Michaels. I love Michael Jordan. I think The Last Dance documentary was maybe the best sports documentary, Diesel, that has ever existed. I love The Last Dance.
It was great. It wasn't OJ Made in America. That one was
for different reasons.
That one was lit up, my friend.
That one was exciting for different reasons. But to the Tolos out there that disagree with me, I want to hear from you at 844-326-3663. Ben, back in the Ingles Market Studios, will let us know if you call in. He'll put you on the air with us. But over the course of 22 seasons, Diesel, LeBron James has averaged 27 points, 7.5 rebounds, or 7.4 rebounds a game, while shooting 50.7%, including 35 from three. LeBron has also won 3 Olympic gold medals with USA Basketball, most recently last summer in the Paris Olympics. For crying out loud, the man is 40 years old. 40. Michael Jordan retired the first time at the age of 30. That's a 10-year difference. If LeBron James were to retire today, and the naysayers will tell you, look, Cole, Michael Jordan has more rings. That's what the naysayers will tell you. But I'm here to tell you that this is not even a debate anymore. Michael Jordan does have more rings. He has 2 more rings than LeBron James. But if that is your argument, Tolos, I ask you, is Bill Russell better than Michael Jordan because he has 11 rings? Is Sam Jones better than Michael Jordan because he has 10? Diesel, there are 9 players that have more rings than Michael Jordan. Does that make all 9 better than Jordan? Absolutely not. That's silly. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Rings are not the end-all, be-all. They're not the only thing that defines the GOAT argument. But when you look at what LeBron has done, the longevity in which he has played, and the fact that he has not declined a single bit, I'm here to simply ask the Tolos, ask the Upstate on this Wednesday, at this point, what makes Michael better than LeBron? That's the question I have.
The fact that Michael averaged 300 more points per season over the course of his career than LeBron James did, and he did it in an era where you couldn't just walk right up to the goal and have a ladder, and just walk up there, just go bloop, just drop it right in. Nobody was going to foul you. People were going to get out of your way. No, it is true, Cole. It is true, Cole, because nobody plays defense in the modern NBA. Michael Jordan scored 2,551 points per season in his 15 years. That number would be higher, by the way, if he hadn't come back to the Washington Wizards after he left of his own volition to go pursue other interests. I get it. LeBron doesn't have anything else going on in his life. I'm saying that facetiously because I do have a tremendous amount of respect for LeBron James and the fact that he's done it up until 40 years old and potentially beyond. I mean, how do you tell a guy that's going out there and consistently putting up 30, 35 points a night, hey, you need to hang it up, right? He could go out there and do this for another 5 years potentially. And I don't want to take anything away from LeBron James, the way he has kept everything together as far as his physique, the way that he's kept his health together, the way that he's been able to essentially maintain kind of a clean-cut image. I know a lot of people are real upset about the way he left Cleveland the first time and then leaving Cleveland again the second time. But, I mean, let's be real. LeBron James' image is essentially squeaky clean when you look at it from an objective standpoint. But the fact is, Cole, he just scored fewer points per season than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is the GOAT. You don't get to just come in and decide.
That's the only reason he's the GOAT, though, is because he had more points per season.
Well, that's a reason. That's a reason why he is the GOAT. LeBron James is the GOAT. We've already established the difference between a GOAT and a GOAT. Tell me, Cole, why? What is it about the young psyche? And you're 28 years old. What is it about the young psyche and the young ego that needs LeBron to be viewed as the GOAT? Like, why is that so ingrained in your personality? And I say your collectively, the younger generation of NBA fans. Why is your image of the NBA and your fandom so wrapped up in LeBron, people, the world recognizing LeBron as being better than Michael Jordan? Like, why is that so important to you? Why can't you just say, he's an elite basketball player, he is among the greats of all time, and appreciate him for being among the greats of all time? Why do you need that extra little cookie at the end?
Number one, because it's true. Number two, because it would be terrible sports talk radio if I just said, oh, yeah, Michael's the GOAT. All right, next segment. What are we talking about? Because it's true. That's the reality. And again, there are old heads all across the upstate who disagree with me right now, and I get it, but that's all I want in one segment. This 15, 20-minute segment of the show, I just want to hear reasons, because I want to know why Michael's better at this point. Because we have one text that says, Diesel, to your point, I think this is JD, LeBron needs to figure out how to win championships and not act like a jerk instead of scoring. That's the dumbest text I've ever heard in my life. Needs to figure out how to win championships.
Tell me this,
Cole, how hard it is to win championships? He's won 4.
What number does LeBron James wear?
Right now, 6. Is that right?
What does he really wear? 6?
I know he changed a couple of times. He was 23, 6.
Okay. 23.
23. Yeah.
Who's 23?
Michael Jordan.
Oh, okay, yeah. So even LeBron James wears Michael Jordan onesies when he goes to bed.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with
he wears MJ. He wears MJ tidy whities when he goes to bed because he knows MJ is the GOAT and he just wants to get a little bit of that on himself.
I think he respects the heck out of Michael. But again, it doesn't mean that he thinks he's the GOAT. I just don't believe it to be true because I haven't heard anything like from the Tolos. Again, if you say that Michael's the best, tell me why. I mean, I want good reasoning. T Swizzle says, what is with the older generation so wrapped up in Jordan? LOL. Same question. I agree with that, T Swizzle.
T Swizzle, what's you're rubber and I'm glue? What bounces off me sticks to you. Come on, is that really what we're doing here? We're doing schoolyard arguments.
Well, to his point.
No, it's not. You can't say it's his point. It's my point that he just reversed for the sake of being argumentative.
But you know how many okay, to your point, he's right, you're right. Both sides get wrapped up in it. That's what makes it a great debate. But I'm just telling you, when you talk about scoring the basketball, let's look over Tolos out there for those in the upstate that may disagree with me. Let's do a little research, okay? On all-time leaders. Let's look down the list. Regular season all-time points leader. Who is that? LeBron. Michael Jordan's 5th. Postseason all-time points leader. LeBron. Michael Jordan's 2nd. All-time minutes played. LeBron's the leader. Michael Jordan's 30th. Regular season field goals made. LeBron's 2nd. Michael Jordan's 5th. Postseason field goals made. LeBron is 1st. Michael Jordan's 3rd. Regular season three-pointers. LeBron's 7th. Good luck finding MJ there. Regular season free throws made. LeBron. Michael Jordan 7th. Postseason free throws. LeBron's 1st. Michael Jordan 2nd. 2 more. Regular season assist leader. LeBron's 4th. MJ is 52nd, right? The most unselfish player to ever walk planet Earth is 52nd in assist. We're going to get to Dewey in a second. Postseason assist leader. LeBron's 2nd. Michael Jordan's 13th. So, again, I just want to know. I just want to know from the Tolos. I want to hear from you in what makes Michael better. That's all I ask. Dewey, what do you say at 844-326-3663? Dewey?
LeBron's a petulant child. That's the difference between him and Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan has character. LeBron, he sticks his nose in places where it doesn't need to go, like politics and cartoons. And LeBron is a cartoon. And the way he left Cleveland is shameful. And he left Cleveland again. Shameful. Then he left Miami. And he's a petulant child. He needs to retire. And he takes Bronny with him, too, because Bronny's going to be a petulant child, too. Oh.
Thanks, Dewey. Michael Jordan has better character than LeBron.
Okay, that's the first time I agree with Cole. Come on, Dewey. The guy was essentially run out of the league for racking up massive gambling. Now, if you wanted to have a conversation between, like, Michael and Phil Mickelson about who's the GOAT of racking up gambling debt, now that may be a real conversation.
Thank you is the key word.
Yeah, and so we appreciate Dewey. But now, Cole, so LeBron wore MJ's number. LeBron also had to step into MJ's role in Space Jam. I mean, what's your argument against that?
What does that have to do with a better player, though?
Because he knows MJ's the GOAT. If he wanted to, he could have stepped in and been any one of the Monstars. He could have been. He could have taken the role of Larry Bird's Monstar or Charles Barkley's Monstar. He didn't do that. He had to step in and take MJ's role. He had to rip off MJ.
14 minutes into the conversation, I still have not heard one single reason as to why Michael's better. I still haven't. Let's see on the text line. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, we've got a lot going. Yeah, and he's lost more championships than he's won, says the texter. Well, that's a great stat. Texters from the 312, or I'm sorry, from the 431. I'm a huge Jordan fan, but the GOAT debate is suggestive because of the different era among the two. Philip Rollins. Appreciate the text, Philip.
I mean, there could be a debate, Cole, for Kareem or for Wilt Chamberlain to be the GOAT, but nobody talks about that anymore.
Yeah. LeBron is 0-20, says a texter, in game-winning shots with less than 20 seconds left. He doesn't have clutch gene. Yeah, that's crazy as well. You hadn't watched basketball if you think that's the case. Texter from the 753, I think a big problem people have with LeBron versus Jordan is how they play. Michael had the killer instinct and would put the team on his back. Big games where LeBron is very diplomatic with players in the NBA. Texter, let me ask you this from the 753. Michael put players on his back and teams on his back, but LeBron didn't, right? Texter, could you tell me who the point guard was in that Cleveland run where LeBron had to put the team on his back, and ask the same question if Matthew Dellavedova is anywhere near the top basketball players in the world? No. Come on. Again, I'm talking to people who are having terrible arguments. LeBron's done it plenty of times. Kevin Love got hurt in that series, and Matthew Dellavedova was the point guard, for crying out loud. He was the point guard. Texter says, if you look at metrics and career combined, LeBron wins, says Scotty from BMW. Texter says Jordan has never lost the finals. And I do think, Diesel, to the point about Jordan never losing the finals, I think that is impeccable. I mean, that's a stat that should be recognized with tremendous thought. I mean, that's insane to never lose a finals.
So here's what I think we need to do, Cole. We need to call up our friend, new friend of the show, Evan Miyakawa. Or if there's an equivalent statistician genius when it comes to NBA to Evan, we need to find that guy. We need to build a computer sim, and we need to sim out 100 NBA Finals games and see who would win the most NBA Finals games. You put the same players on each team, the same rotation, four-man rotation around them, Michael and LeBron, and let them play it out and see who would win it. Now, I don't know how you would figure out how to essentially officiate the games.
Yeah.
But if you can figure out a way, and maybe it's in like NBA 2K already, and I don't even know about it, right? Where you could play, historical teams versus historical teams, and you set the rules so that fouls are called like they were in the 1990s versus fouls called the way that they are right now. Maybe that's what you need to do, and we can sim this thing out and have essentially mathematics decide who was the GOAT over the other. Again, both have tremendous stats in various places. LeBron has, you just said it, he has got a ton of scoring stats, and a big part of that is having played until he's 40 years old and Michael Jordan leaving the game. Now, we don't know what could have happened for MJ if he hadn't left the game in his prime, right? If he hadn't decided to leave and make that really ill-fated decision to go play minor league baseball. It's ludicrous. I mean, just think if LeBron James jumped out of the game at 32 years old or so and said, you know what, I want to go play tight end for the Washington Redskins.
Which was a possibility. Well, I mean, people talked about it at one time. Like, what if he did that?
Well, he couldn't do that, Cole, because in the modern NBA, you don't get hit. He'd be too afraid of getting hit. So he couldn't.
He'd have pads on. He'd have pads on. JD says that's a stat. He's 0 for 20 in game-winning shots. He has no clutch, and I watch plenty of basketball. Cole gets chippy on this convo. Well, JD, okay, one stat is what your argument is for the GOAT, because I just gave you 15.
I just gave you a stat, too, the 2,500 points a season.
And that's great. But again, when I look at the overall combined product that LeBron James has put on the court, from longevity to every statistical category that I just read off, from regular season all-time points to all-time minutes to field goals made to field goal percentage to three-pointers to postseason free throws, regular season free throws, assists, you add in 4 championships. You add in the fact that I haven't even talked about yet, that I haven't even brought up, that LeBron James broke history and was down 3-1 and did something that had never been done in the history of the game and brought a Cleveland team back to win the championship after being down 3-1 against the greatest Golden State Warriors team in the history of basketball. That feat in itself is not talked about enough.
Now, I do agree with you, Cole, in the fact that ring culture cannot be the only thing that decides who's the best, right? The number of rings cannot be the deciding factor. It is a factor.
Yeah.
It is a stat that ultimately goes into the algorithm. But, Cole, do you also consider the fact that LeBron bounced from team to team to team, attempting to build a super team in the era of the super teams, and he still didn't end up with more rings than Michael Jordan? He said, I don't have what I need here in Cleveland, so let me go off to Miami and build a super team. Oh, crap, I didn't get enough titles here. Let me go back to Cleveland so that I can make those people happy. Oh, crap, I'm not winning enough titles there. Let me go off to L.A. and build another super team over there. And he still doesn't have the same number of rings.
He doesn't, and I could argue the same thing with Kyrie Irving, who was one of his best stars that he ever played with. Kyrie Irving decided to leave Cleveland, right? And that wasn't LeBron's choice. So how many rings does LeBron have if Kyrie doesn't leave? I'll throw another one out there for you. Michael Jordan had the best coach in the history of basketball. Nobody debates that Phil Jackson was the GOAT. Nobody even debates another coach that's anywhere remotely close to Phil Jackson. Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson his entire career. Eric Spoelstra is the best coach LeBron's ever had, probably up until J.J. Redick.
LeBron, tried to push every coach he ever had to the side so that he could be the coach and GM, so that he could make all of those decisions. He took too much on his own plate, and it ultimately cost him when it comes to the number of titles he won.
I don't think that's true. I think that LeBron in L.A. has let the GM and ownership group do what they want. Darvin Ham was a failure. Darvin Ham was supposed to be brought in to be a defensive-minded guy, and he fell on his face. You look at the coaches that LeBron has won championships with. My whole point is, as I shut up because we got to run to a break, I just think at the end of the day, there are too many statistical categories that serve as proof as to why LeBron's the GOAT. You, JD, other people who bring up one or two little stats like 0 and 20, that's cute and all, but I just read off 15. Like, you look at what he's done overall, rings are a factor. I just don't think this is a debate anymore. It's clear cut to me that LeBron's the best that's ever played the game of basketball.
I wish we still had the baby cry sound effects queued up and ready to go that you
played
that yesterday. Yeah, because Ben could have played that underneath all of your arguments.
But they're true. But the difference is,
nobody will believe me, and nobody will see it my way.
But the difference is, I'm giving you facts. That's facts I'm giving you. Is that true or not true? I'm giving you facts. I mean, that you can think it's crying, but I'm giving facts. And all the Michael Jordan activists out there, they're running, their tails tucked between their legs. They have no response.
Speaking of crying activists, Keith Olbermann, former ESPN personality turned political pundit, he is going after Pat McAfee, current ESPN cash cow. We'll get into that conversation. Who's right? Who's wrong? Who's crying? Keith or Pat? That conversation is coming your way next, right here on the Fan Upstate, as we are live from Ingles Markets in Cherrydale. Would love for you to come by and see us and score one of these Ingles gift cards that we have to give away. You come up to the table, be one of the first 5, and you're going to take one home. We'll talk about Keith, Pat, WWE, and more next on the Fan Upstate. Cole, you know that I don't have a whole lot of love for professional wrestling. It's silly. It's over the top. It's essentially made for, 12-year-old boys who hang out at home all night because they don't have anywhere else to go. But I also understand the nature of what WWE wrestling is.
Yeah.
I understand that it's for the 12-year-old boys who can't go anywhere. They love that kind of stuff. Well, it's also for Rob Brown and Lonzo too, but I don't want to know what they do when they're at home alone. But Cole, a guy that used to work for ESPN, maybe you're a little young and don't remember him as a main anchor on ESPN SportsCenter, Keith Olbermann. Do you remember him?
I know the name.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think probably you might know him more as, what was he on, MSNBC as a pundit. He was on SportsCenter for years and years and years and years, left to go be on MSNBC. Well,
Yeah, I just Googled him. I know you're talking about
Keith is all up in his feels over something that Pat McAfee, who I consider to be a clown, had to say on WWE. So you've got a clown. Yes, you're right, a very rich clown. A rich clown on a clown show, and Keith Olbermann is all jacked up about this. Listen to what Pat McAfee had to say on WWE about the great country of Canada.
These are the most stacked elimination chambers that the WWE has ever had. Kind of sucks that it's in the terrible country of Canada that booed our national anthem to start this entire thing. But it's going to be a historic night for the WWE on the road to WrestleMania.
So Olbermann's all jacked up about this because, having done political punditry for a while, old habits die hard. He was also on the left side leaning of political punditry, and he's really, really jacked up about this.
Like being serious?
I think so.
Gosh.
because he tweeted, a lot of us tried to warn the new ESPN management that the day would come when this idiot would draw them into a permanent political controversy and they could either be consumed by it or fire him. Well, today is the day. Fire him. Keith Olbermann wrote on Twitter. Keith, by the way, is from New York. He is an American, but he is upset that Pat McAfee, arguably the largest, if not definitely the loudest voice on ESPN, is going after the country of Canada. But he did it, Cole, on WWE. He did it on a wrestling show.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot of love for Pat McAfee. I think he's ridiculous. I think he's silly. It's not my kind of sports entertainment, but I understand that a lot of people really like it. So Keith is missing the plot, that this is all part of a clown show, and he's taking it very, very seriously.
He's taking something that was said on WWE seriously. So that's the first thing, right?
It's like getting upset over something someone in a cartoon says on Saturday morning cartoons.
The second thing is, did Pat McAfee say anything demeaning other than a terrible? I mean, goodness gracious.
I mean, if somebody said that America was terrible, wouldn't you have some sort of feeling about it?
If they were from Canada, guess what? That's what they do. That's kind of like country pride, right? If you're from Canada, you love your country. You bag on the U.S. If you're from Mexico, you bag on the U.S. and you love Mexico. Hey, we love America. Regardless of what political side we're on, we love America, and I'll bag on Canada. I don't think Pat McAfee said anything outlandish. And that tweet from Keith, I hope he was being sarcastic.
Now, like,
it's a bad look for Keith.
You have to now put this into a business perspective. Okay, I genuinely don't know how much business ESPN does in Canada. I don't know how much it crosses the border. I don't know if they have distribution all over the country. Now, I understand that there's like some version of a Canadian sports network. I think that's even what it might be called, the CSN. So I don't even know if ESPN is a big deal over there. Yeah. So he's just some guy, some loud guy yelling about Canada on WWE, and Keith Olbermann is just, he's too jacked up about this, man. You got to calm down and realize this is all just a clown show.
Play-by-play JB.
How about that?
One of our Tolos in the South Carolina gear. I like that, JB. Hey, real quick.
This is the JB that should have caught the strays.
No, different JB.
This is different JB. Okay. I'm
that
confused.
JB is in the stream. This is he calls himself play-by-play JB because there's another JB in the stream, right? Am I right on that? And just so you know, not to get off tangent here, tell me again, play-by-play, JB, he came by Ingles, 8 months ago?
We have seen JB before.
And the only difference, do you notice the difference from 8 months ago until now?
The high water pants?
No, not the game, not the high water pants. Tell us, what's the 108 pounds.
Wow.
That's insane.
Excellent.
108
Fantastic.
pounds in 8 months. 8 months. That's
Jeez.
and it was carnivore diet, right? Carnivore
Is that
diet.
why you're doing it?
That's what I'm trying to, but I'm not as successful yet as JB.
That might be the most fun diet any man can choose to do.
Right?
You know what? Eat nothing but steak, nothing but chicken.
Yeah.
All kinds of
Down
good stuff.
108 pounds. So good to see you. He just got a Ingles gift card. What our other Tolos can do if they drop
We
by.
got 4 more to go.
That's right.
Tolos.
Tolos.
1,500 points at
I
highway.
almost said gear.
Yeah, we
Because
got. Well,
it's,
it's the same number.
1,500,
Yeah, 1,500 points at highway in Greenville. We're the store in Cherrydale.
Do you consider this Cherrydale? Okay, Cherrydale.
Yeah,
That's what
there you
you and I both said. Wanted to make sure. But to your point about Keith in that tweet, I think there is some deep, deep, deep animosity from Keith to Pat. Right? It sounds to me, Diesel, like Keith Olbermann is a traditional style broadcaster from the past days of ESPN. And I think
that you should be buttoned up, that you shouldn't
wear a
say
tie,
anything that's
no
going to
tank
upset
tops,
people.
right? Clean shaven, no beard.
No drinking beers and throwing up on ESPN.
Well, I think that there was probably a lot of people from ESPN and a lot of people out there listening to this show today who still think that think that you should not broadcast in the way that Pat McAfee does. How many times have we heard stories about old executives from ESPN who have tried to get Pat McAfee fired? He even talked about it one time, didn't he, on his show?
Did he?
Trying to about old executives who were just upset with the way that he does things. And I just think that's what this is here. I think it's a bad look for Keith. I think there's some animosity there that he needs to just get over the fact that broadcasting has changed. It's not the same as it was 15 years ago.
Look, I mean, I would have looked at this, and again, I didn't watch it because I don't watch wrestling, but I would have looked at this as just friendly, playful banter and lobbing jabs back and forth at each other. Doesn't really mean anything. I hate the fact that politics is now in everything. You can't watch something. You can't read something. You can't listen to any podcast without it being infused with politics. And I think that's on Keith for making this more about politics than it needs to be. I'm not surprised, again, as a former host on MSNBC. But again, I think he's missing the plot that it was on WWE. It's just silly, playful, back and forth banter.
And I think JB just said to me, who's here at Ingles, a lot of it had to do with the national. That's probably why Pat said it.
Yeah, they booed the national anthem, and I get it. I understand why the Canadians
but that's their job.
are doing that.
They boo us, we boo them.
They boo like American players when they're doing some sort of a head-to-head matchup. They boo American players no matter what every single time.
I don't think.
But Americans are very, very much up in their feels about other countries booing the national anthem. Most countries used to not do it because there was no reason to do it. There was no now manufactured animosity that's just come on in the last couple of months. But like Americans get real upset about that. We defend it.
I think people are just too soft. Well, I mean, really, that's what my opinion. People are soft.
JD on the stream says, I literally haven't watched wrestling since I was 12. Pat is probably on his way out at ESPN. I'm not sure about that.
How is that?
He says he even lost his contract for his sideline simulcast. Kane, P1 Armada Elitist, says Keith Olbermann is a huge Karen. Doesn't take much to upset him. He would put his political opponents in prison if he could. JD and Kane lobbing back and forth on this. There's somebody else that Pat is catching flack about with the Canadians booing national anthem and stuff as well. He also says ESPN has never hosted game day in Canada. That's a fact. Yeah. Let's see. Kane says Keith is the Dewey of sportscasters. Pat is right to defend the honor of his country. They were booing the national anthem.
I don't know. I kind of like that from Kane, the Dewey of sports broadcasters. Sorry, Dewey, but you know what it all boils down to is ESPN, to JD's point about Pat McAfee being out, ESPN is profiting off of this. If they're not profiting, maybe JD is correct.
Look,
but as long as that right there, that green's still coming in, I don't think he's on his way out.
You're not a movie guy, so you haven't seen this, so you won't know this line. But Howard Stern's Private Parts. It was a movie. It was a semi-documentary but it was a dramatized documentary about Howard Stern's rise into radio
What just
prominence.
happened?
Yeah, what's
Are we in
going
a
on?
circus right now?
All
Where's
of
that
us.
coming from? Are the oranges singing? Grapes? Where'd that come from? I'm sorry.
That threw me for a loop. I'm
was
expecting like some
wild.
kids in little wooden shoes to
I
come out.
know. Where's the horses?
Yeah.
I
I don't
know.
even know what I was talking about. Somebody just got up and walked away.
With their buggy.
Oh no!
So it was like a circus. I don't know if you can hear it on the radio or not, but it was a circus.
Yeah,
feed that just started
I
playing.
I had a point going, but I completely forgot.
Everybody was like, "What?"
What?
You gotta love it.
Let's see.
You
here.
were talking about something related to Patton. I don't know what it was either, but I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Howard Stern's Private Parts.
Yeah.
In that movie, Stern is on his way up in his career, and Pat McAfee has a lot of similarities with Howard Stern and how he does his business. He's attempting to be shocking and over the top and disrupt things the way Howard Stern wanted to disrupt things. But there used to be a line in that movie where he said, people who like Stern listen for 45 minutes a day. Why do they listen so long? Most common answer, I want to see what he'll say next. People who hate Howard Stern listen for an hour and 15 minutes a day. Well, if they hate him, why do they listen? Because I want to see what he'll say next. This is all great marketing for ESPN and Pat McAfee's show.
And I'd be shocked. I really would. Maybe JD knows something we don't know. I'd be shocked if Pat's on his way out. I just think there's too much money that's being generated because of him, his show, his personality. We'll see, though.
Texter says, Olbermann peas sitting down.
I don't think there's a lot of Oberman fans out there.
Another texter says, Keith Olbermann needs his A beat. He's a freaking, and I can't say that word on the radio, but it starts with the letter P. Texter says, this is who Keith is. He's a deranged lunatic. And it's sad, man. Like, I grew up watching Keith Olbermann on ESPN. I thought he was a good sportscaster. I mean, I'm looking at it through the lens of being a 15-year-old watching SportsCenter. I thought he was good at hosting SportsCenter, but that was a long time ago, and his personality definitely shifted and changed since then.
I didn't know you couldn't say that word on the radio. I'm glad you said that because I would have said it.
Yeah, it rhymes with trick and starts with the letter P.
Is that a bad word? Is that?
I don't. It's questionable.
Huh?
Questionable.
Well, I'm glad you told me that.
Probably not illegal, but frowned upon.
Because I would have said it. I'm glad you said that. But Diesel, in the very next segment, the number one team in the country goes down last night. Clemson basketball in action tonight. We'll dive into college basketball before hour number 2 right here on the Fan Upstate.
with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
It is Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. This is the final segment of hour number 1. Appreciate you, Tolos, being in the stream live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. 94 of you in there right now. How about
Let's make
that?
it 100. Come on,
Oh, yeah.
Tolos.
We got
6 more.
We got that. Let's make it 100. You can also listen on 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, 97.7 FM in Greenville on the free Odyssey app. So many different ways to consume Wire to Wire. So many different ways for you to listen or watch. The Odyssey app's fantastic, by the way. If you haven't done so, make sure you get that. We have seen play-by-play JB. We've seen Joel. Is that right?
Joel just stopped in.
He got a gift card.
Both of them did.
Yep.
Yeah. That means we got 3
two left.
Two left.
I gave one to, what was your lady you were talking?
Angela. Angela, who used to work at Odyssey Greenville. She was Bob McClain's producer for years on WORD.
Yep.
And obviously, I'm a big fan of Bob McClain. He's a great guy.
She got one, so we have 2 gift cards. Look at that. Tolo showing up in hour number 1. And we're excited. Hey, last night, Auburn, it was funny. You and I kind of talked about this yesterday briefly as I think we were talking about the top 25 and I don't remember exactly what conversation we were having, but we talked about Auburn and A&M and teams having such difficulty figuring out Auburn. Well, what did A&M do last night? They beat Auburn, the number 1 team in all of the land, 83-72 last night. Diesel, a huge win for A&M. The number 1 Auburn Tigers go down. Is it okay to hit the panic button? I mean, number 1, you lost a game. You shouldn't do that if you're number 1, right? You shouldn't lose.
Same reason why South Carolina Lady Gamecocks are just going to have a terrible rest of their season.
That's right.
Because they lost a couple of games. Now, Auburn is really, really good. I mean, yes, they get everyone's best shot. But A&M was just on fire out of the gate. I think I looked up at one point, and it was like 12-2 or 14-2. A&M got a big lead early and just never relinquished it. It was their home court. They had the crowd behind them. It was a phenomenal environment there at Texas A&M. So credit to them. Credit for pulling that off. And Bruce Pearl has had a hard time against A&M.
In the SEC, man, night in and night out, it's a gauntlet. So, no, I was kidding. It's not time to hit the panic button. Auburn, they're still going to be okay. The Clemson Tigers are back in action tonight, 7 o'clock in Chestnut Hill. Clemson taking on Boston College. The number 11 Tigers, Diesel, are favored by 14.5 points up in Chestnut Hill tonight. But you know what's wild? It seems like every single time you and I have talked about Clemson being favored by a large spread, you know what they've done? They've covered. They're I think Grayson Mann said it a couple of weeks ago. They're beating teams the way they're supposed to, and I expect the same tonight against a bad BC team.
And that's one of those ways that you start to gain that national respect. It took them a majority of the season, 3/4 of the season, until they started getting the attention. We were talking for weeks, like, when are these guys finally going to break into the top 25? And then they jumped from unranked to 11th, I think, in 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Over the last 3 weeks of the season. So, that level of consistency, and that's what we talked about with Evan Miyakawa. That's what you'll see if you go to his website. Had a fantastic conversation with him. Clemson just plays consistent basketball. They do what they're supposed to do. Yes, they're playing weaker competition than they would if they were playing in the Big Ten or playing in the SEC, but they're doing what they're supposed to do against weaker competition and covering more often than not.
And you know what, man? Like, we talked about this yesterday as we took a deep dive into Clemson. You're waiting, it seems like, on this team to have a hiccup. You're waiting on this team to have a bad night, and it can happen. It may happen tonight. It may happen Saturday at home, right? But what you're seeing is a mark of a good coach that has his team prepared. And I'll look, when I have to eat crow, I'll eat it. I have no problem admitting that I was wrong. And you know what? It's not that I was just totally off base, but for a long time, many, many, many years, I was very vocal about Brad Brunell just not meeting expectations. He's turned it around. The transfer portal has been a big help to him, Diesel, and now you got to give him the flowers. It doesn't mean that he wasn't bad back then, because he was bad, but he has done exactly what good coaches do and figure out, adaptation, figure out ways to get better and win. That's what he's done.
Well, he knows that, in basketball, it's a different It's a different beast than trying to do the transfer portal in football, where you feel like you need to go out there and get 6, 7 guys. And especially if they're coming in at key positions, they hold some extra weight. With basketball, really all he needs to do is go out there and get 2 quality transfers a year. If he can focus his efforts on 1, 2 transfers at most per season, there's a higher likelihood that they work out. And so far in his 2 years of really hitting the transfer portal,
he's done good.
He's done great, and look, I think it takes a little more data than 2 seasons to say he's some sort of a portal whisperer and can't miss coming out of the portal, because it's going to happen. There's going to be a high-profile player that he thinks he's going to get out of, a smaller school that fancies their ability to move up and play at a higher level. It's going to happen at some point. But, if you could start adding a couple more years of data where Brad Brownell is doing this year in and year out, I think the narrative around him really changes. And, man, he could be a coach for life at Clemson.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it's going to be fascinating to watch, but congratulations to what he's done. They will be playing tonight against Boston College. When we come back, Cole, should Pete Rose be pulled off the exemption list in Major League Baseball? There's been an executive order from the president trying to pardon Pete Rose, or at least a promise that would happen. But should it happen? Should it happen? That conversation coming up next. 97.7 FM in Greenville, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, broadcasting live here today from 1500 Poinsett Highway in Greenville.
start to finish.
You're going wire to wire
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
on the Fan
Yeah,
Upstate.
we're hot.
Major League Baseball Rule 21D states, and I quote, any player, umpire, or club or league official or employee who shall bet any sum whatsoever upon any baseball game in connection with which the bettor has a duty to perform shall be declared permanently ineligible, end quote. That is the rule that Pete Rose violated when he was betting on his own teams to win. Pete Rose always bet the overs. Yet it is still directly, unequivocally, and undeniably in violation of Major League Baseball Rule 21D, a rule that was instituted in Major League Baseball in 1921 and had been posted in every clubhouse for decades. So the question becomes, Cole, as our U.S. President Donald Trump has promised to look at and potentially pardon Pete Rose for his involvement in his gambling, should Pete Rose be reinstated to Major League Baseball in good faith so that he can be voted on and potentially placed into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, where his play on the field would clearly dictate he belongs?
Sounds to me like Donald Trump's a big Pete Rose fan, first of all, right? Secondly, where Trump is probably wrong, maybe he knows he's wrong, maybe he doesn't, the MLB has zero to do with the players that are in. Zero. That they just don't. So, his beef towards Rob Manfred or whoever it may be with the MLB, the MLB doesn't have anything to do with who gets in. Now, is that right or wrong? We can have that separate conversation,
Sure.
right?
Is it right or wrong to hold a grudge if you're Rob Manfred?
Yeah, and in having a separate organization elect who is in or not in to your Hall of Fame, right? That's a different
JD wants to chime
conversation
in on Pete Rose.
for a different day. But I don't know that Trump, a pardon from President Trump, is going to do anything. Pardons are for people who broke
the law.
And Pete broke a rule, right, in the
Yeah.
league. So if President Trump's the biggest Pete Rose fan there is, maybe he is. Maybe he wants some money on Pete Rose. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you this. I don't think there's anything Trump can do.
No, because he doesn't have any jurisdiction over the Major League Baseball Writers Association.
He can join.
Yeah, I guess he could. I guess he could join. He doesn't have any power or control over the writers who may or may not in the future decide to vote Pete Rose into the Hall of Fame. Cole, I look at this and say, why are politics getting involved in rules violations in Major League Baseball? Like I understand why any political candidate or political figure, even the president, would do it, because it's a populist movement, right? It's people have been saying for years, pardon Pete Rose, let Pete Rose back in, he should be in, It's a populist thing. There are thousands and millions of people who would love to see Pete Rose in this thing. But at the end of the day, Cole, I think this is politics sticking its nose where it doesn't belong. This doesn't have anything to do with the president. This doesn't have anything to do with pardoning. You can't pardon someone who didn't break the law.
Yeah.
It's not illegal to bet. Now, I don't know what the laws in Ohio were at the time or what other states he may have placed bets in. But to my knowledge, it wasn't illegal in any way, shape, or form what he did. So a pardon, it's kind of a meaningless gesture that's just there to rile people up. And I don't think it's necessary.
And again, if you're surprised that President Trump gave an opinion on something, I'm surprised that you're surprised, right? That's what he does. He's the most opinionated person in the world, especially if he can get his hands on his Twitter account. He says all kind of things, right? You take it for what it's worth. You take it when it comes to the president's opinion on baseball. You take it with a grain of salt, because
I didn't even know he was a baseball fan. I knew that he
that's what I'm saying.
owned an AFL team or whatever back in the 70s or
that's
80s.
The point. He wasn't elected president to fix baseball. He was elected president to fix the country. If you want to figure out a solution to get Pete Rose in, which, by the way, to answer your question that you asked me, I don't think he should because,
He violated the rules.
well, you mean tell you the real reason?
Why?
In a video that he appeared in right before he died, his words were, if I die, I don't want to go in after I die. And if we as baseball fans want to respect Pete Rose and respect what he did for the game, we should also respect his wishes that he gave in a real video where he said, I don't want to go in after I die. And I think that's what we should do. We should respect what the man says because he's completely right in the sense of it's not fair to put him in after he's dead.
It also changes, when you look at the fact that Pete Rose never apologized for what he did. He wasn't sorry for it. He may be sorry that it kept him out of the Hall of Fame or took him away from baseball for years and years. But Pete Rose, I mean, let's be real, at times was kind of a jerk and poked the bear quite a bit. If Pete Rose really wanted to atone for what he did, he could have spent the latter part of his life trying to atone for that. Sure, I think it was wrong for the Cincinnati Reds to bring him out, parade him around every now and again, but at the end of the day, not help in potentially not clearing his name, because you can't really clear someone's name when you know for a fact that they committed the violation. But the fact that they continue to bring him out so they could sell a couple extra tickets on Pete Rose Day at the ballpark, I thought that was wrong. Let's go to the phone lines and talk to JD, who wants to weigh in on Pete Rose. JD, is the president overstepping his bounds? Is he getting involved in something he has no business being involved in? Should Pete Rose ultimately be pardoned and put into the Hall of Fame?
Taking my call. That's it. I mean, I honestly agree with both of you guys. Cole, you just nailed it right there. If Pete says he doesn't want to go in after he dies, to me, that's the biggest thing. It would have meant way more to him had he gone into this Hall of Fame before he passed away. And so to put him in after almost seems like disrespectful, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do. I think it is. I think it's disrespectful to put him in after. It's a slap in the face. He literally said, "I don't want to go. I don't want it."
Yeah.
And now you're going to come on, man.
That feels like trying to score political points against someone's wishes.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Thanks for the phone call there, JD.
Hey, JD, why didn't you call in when we were talking about LeBron earlier? I mean, what did you forget?
Well, no. Hey, I'll tell you what. I've caught plenty of smoke today, Cole. I didn't want that smoke.
Fair enough.
Thanks for the call, JD. Yeah, this was, there was a good article posted up on CBS Sports within the last couple of days about this. Matt Snyder, who is a CBS Sports reporter, said, quote, Pete willingly did something that carried the punishment of a permanent ban and was punished with a permanent ban. And yet so many people are outraged on his behalf. He did the crime and will continue to do the proverbial time. But again, it didn't matter to Pete. I don't think it really mattered. Yeah. I wonder if Pete just got so jaded by the process, or if it's just a little bit of acceptance. Like, you know what? I did it. I violated the crime. I violated the rules. I understand what the violation entails, and it just is what it is. Like, I genuinely don't care if Pete Rose goes into the Hall of Fame.
I don't either.
He was a great player, but the rules are what the rules are. And at some point, Cole, the rules have to matter. And if we can argue the merits of any rule based on one individual situation and essentially get them off for whatever thing they violated, whatever rule they violated, then what's the point in even having rules in the first place?
Yeah, look, to me, if I were a diehard baseball junkie that loved the game and had the same passion for Pete being in the Hall of Fame as I do for LeBron being the GOAT, then maybe the story would be different. I just don't. To your point, I don't care if he gets in or not. Like I said, I think it's a complete slap in the face to put him in now, going against his wishes. Do you have to put him in? Look, if you're the what is the athletic or the
Baseball Writers
Association? Baseball
Association?
Writers, thank you. If you're the Baseball Writers Association, you don't have to put him in, but you should at least have the common decency to respect them. And putting him in now is a complete slap in the face. And we all know he was one of the best baseball players ever.
Yeah.
He holds records that will never be he was amazing. One of the best ever, if not the best. So, like, you have to respect what he did. And I think the Baseball Writers of America, or the association that puts people in the Hall of Fame, Diesel, I think it's a complete disrespect to even bring it up in the future. Don't even put it on the agenda of the meeting. Just it's gone. It's in the past. There's nothing you can do. I don't want to see him in the Hall of Fame.
So, look, I mean, the Baseball Writers Association of America the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1991 decided that players that have been ruled out permanently by Major League Baseball would never be eligible for the Hall of Fame. I just wonder, Cole, like, when you become a Baseball Writer of America, when you join that illustrious fraternity, like, is it a prerequisite that you're a stuffy jerk, or do you have to, is it special training to become a stuffy jerk when you join that organization? Because for whatever reason, like, every time baseball writers, maybe it's just a special breed of people who are just pencil-pushing nerds and sticklers for the rules, but it seems like they just beat the gavel for following the rules, and that's so-and-so. Like, I wonder if 20 years from now, 30 years from now, let's say this pardon comes down and Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred decided to take a little bit of a PR win and just remove the indefinite ban and say, okay, now if the Baseball Writers Association of America wants to vote him in, it's on them to do so. They could choose to honor the 1991 statute that said if you are deemed ineligible, you will be ineligible forever, or over time, maybe opinions on that will change. Who knows if baseball is even going to be around 30, 40, 50 years from now so that these Writers Association members can change their minds and potentially vote this guy in. But, I mean, I don't know if it would ever change, because there's just something about baseball writers.
Diesel,
they're jerks.
There are 64 members of the Baseball Writers Association of America. 64.
64.
So the problem is you're going to have to convince 64 people, or however they vote, if they go majority, over the minority, however their system is set up, Diesel, you're going to have to convince that many people. And of those 64, you know what I would guess? I don't know this for fact. It'd take a lot of research. I would guess of the 64 that at least 75% are over the age of 50, right? Wouldn't you imagine so? Been doing this a long time. Let's see. I mean, for example, Ted Berg, Barry Bloom, Rhett Bollinger, Grant Bisbee. I mean, these guys are probably, who knows if they're even still alive or not. You're not going to ever convince them. I think the guys that are in there now are of the mindset of the generation, Diesel, where there's no convincing them that there's Pete Rose is not going to get in. So ultimately, I don't think you'll have to worry about it. But I did want to get to this text. Let's see. Texter from this is JD. JD says, I was also going to say it's wild to see where gambling has come regarding athletes and sports. Pete permanently banned, yet NFL players only get a year suspension. He also said Pete was one of the greatest baseball players ever, and it's a travesty he isn't in. But how about the steroid issue? Cadillac says Dale Murphy should be in the Hall before Pete. And again, that's an interesting point that JD brings up, Diesel, because the landscape has changed.
Yeah,
I mean, it's changed.
But at the same time, Cole, you have to go by what the law of the land was at the time.
That's right. I agree with that. Yeah.
If you go and change the rule, 25 years from now, that crack cocaine is completely legal, it doesn't change anything about people who were caught with it, in the 1990s.
Yeah.
You can't change that fact because then everybody will want, essentially they'll be able to sue whatever city arrested them and say, well, it's legal now. It's legal now. You have to pay me for all that time.
Sure.
Texter here says, Cole, that Trump is pardoning him for his tax evasion, not for betting on baseball. Texter, I'd love to know where you're finding specifically about his tax evasion, because this was the post put up on Truth Social that President Trump posted. Major League Baseball didn't have the courage or decency to put the late, great Pete Rose also known as Charlie Hustle, into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now he is dead. Will never experience the thrill of being selected, even though he was a far better player than most of those who made it. and can only be named posthumously. What a shame. Anyway, over the next few weeks, I will be signing a complete pardon of Pete Rose, who shouldn't have been gambling on baseball, but only bet on his team winning. He never bet against himself or the other team. He had the most hits by far in baseball history and won more games than anyone in sports history. Baseball, which is dying all over the place, should get off its fat, lazy ass and elect Pete Rose, even though far too late, into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Texter, tell me at what point in what I just read did it say, I want to pardon him for his tax evasion?
Right. And that's probably the only
there may
thing.
be somewhere deeper that piece of information exists. So I'm not telling you that you're wrong.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen that anywhere. This post that he put up a few days ago about Pete Rose is about Pete Rose's gambling. This has nothing to do with tax evasion.
And even if he pardoned him for tax evasion, it wouldn't have anything to do with the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's not why he's not in.
Right.
The tax evasion.
You can pardon somebody for tax evasion.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, I guess you can. You can waive their debts and what. I guess you could pardon somebody for that. But that doesn't mean that the Baseball Writers Association now has to change their rules to unban Pete Rose.
Sure, absolutely. And here's what it all boils down to. It all boils down to going back to what I said, respecting his wishes. 10 days, Diesel, 10 days before Pete Rose died, Pete Rose said, I've come to the conclusion, I hope I'm wrong, that I'll make the Hall of Fame after I die. Rose said in the interview that took place 10 days before his death, Pete said, which I totally disagree with, because the Hall of Fame is for two reasons, your fans and your family. That's what the Hall of Fame is for, your fans and your family, and it's for your family if you're here. It's for your fans if you're here, not if you're 10 feet under. You understand what I'm saying? What good is it to do me or my fans if they put me in the Hall of Fame a couple of years after I pass? What's the point? What's the point? Because they'll make money over it. And he's exactly right on that sense. I think he had the exact right mindset, Diesel. And the reality is, to his point about the fans, every day that passes, this is not an old man joke, every day that passes, there are less and less Pete Rose fans on planet Earth. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, will kids know who Pete Rose is?
Probably not.
Do kids now know? I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Find a kid who knows baseball. Like, that would be fascinating, Cole, to talk to a travel ball team. You know,
Right.
a group of kids who seem to be dedicating a pursuit of their lives to baseball.
Sure.
How many of them know about Pete Rose other than the fact that he was banned from Major League Baseball for betting?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would know. I mean, if kids today had a dad who's educated them on it, maybe that's one thing. But if not, I bet there's no way the majority of kids growing up that play baseball, that love baseball, that watch baseball, know who Pete Rose
JD
is.
texts in and says Pete was one of the greatest baseball players ever, and it's a travesty he isn't in. But how about the steroid issue? What do steroids have to do with this? Let's see. Texter says they gave Reggie his Heisman back. What does Reggie Bush have to do with this? You could also argue that O.J. Simpson is still in the NFL Hall of Fame, but he was, disgraced and in one of the largest, highest profile murder trials in American history. Doesn't change anything. You know, you can compartmentalize and say Pete Rose violated the rules. He was banned for violating the rules. He knew he would be banned for violating the rules. Let him stay banned because, like you said, his wishes, he didn't want to be let in.
Tolos, in the very next segment, we take a trip with you around the NFL. There are 8 storylines that I've got on the rundown, on the docket to discuss, to dive into. It'll be some quick hits on each of these storylines. I want to hear from you in this very next segment at 844-FAN-PHONE. That's FONE, 844-326-3663. We're live at 1500 Poinsett Highway in Greenville. The conversation around the NFL is next. The South Carolina Lady Gamecocks are en route to Greenville. That's where we are. And 30 minutes from right now, we will be joined live by the head basketball coach of the Lady Gamecocks, Coach Dawn Staley. She is gracious enough to join us on the bus ride over to Greenville from Columbia, as she had some media availability in Columbia before they left today. I'm sure you've seen a lot of that online already, but it's a big interview with her coming up. They are on a double bye, Diesel, so the Lady Gamecocks will play on Friday, hopefully on Saturday, and hopefully on Sunday. All they need is 2 wins to get to the championship game. But we go around the NFL, a lot happening. The league year opens 1 week from maybe is that March 12th. Whenever March 12th is, that might be 1 week from today, Diesel. The league year, 1 week from today. A lot already happening in the NFL. Tolos, want to hear from you on these 8 topics of conversation as well. Quick hits on 8 NFL storylines. And we start with the most important position, Diesel, and Sam Darnold. It's a guy who's a free agent who had a really good year last year in Minnesota. However, he did not perform well down the stretch. Does Sam Darnold, in your mind, who the Raiders have offered, the Titans have offered, does Sam Darnold move the meter enough to the general managers across the league for him to be a hot commodity right now?
Hot commodity, no. Backup plan, yeah. And I don't mean backup plan as in backup quarterback.
Yeah, maybe I mean short-term plan.
Short-term plan, right. He's a year, let's say you're going to go after a rookie and you need somebody who's got some experience who can guide him as they enter the NFL. I think Sam Darnold is a prime candidate for that role. Look, if you get the first 6-7 weeks of the season out of Sam Darnold the way the Vikings got the first 6-7 weeks of the season out of him, great. You're set up. You're in a great spot. And then as you get deeper into the season, if the inevitable drop-off happens again, I guess it's not inevitable if it happens again, but if he drops off late in the season, now all of a sudden you've got a good record and you've got a quarterback who has coached up your rookie and gotten him ready to go.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad option. I think for the teams that have offered him, like the Raiders and the Titans, I think that Sam Darnold's probably going to be a Tennessee Titan here in about a week. I really do. I think that Tennessee's an interesting place because they don't have an answer right now.
But if they go Cam Ward at number 1, is it worth taking Sam Darnold? If you're because Sam is not going to want backup money, right?
No, I think that you'd have to convince your number 1 pick that he's not going to play for the first 2 years, right? And that's not going to go over well.
No, it's not.
So I don't know. I think that it depends on the philosophy that we've talked about several times on this show of where the GM's mind is. What do I mean? Do they have the philosophy of taking a veteran quarterback who's proven himself in the regular season, maybe a more win-now strategy, or do they gamble a little bit and go a little younger in Cam Ward? I think it all depends on what their strategy is. I don't know that Sam's a game changer kind of guy, but he's not a bad option.
Well, you got to look if you're the Tennessee Titans and you're really legitimately interested in going Sam Darnold. If that's the case, you really have to look at who's going to be coming out as a quarterback next year out of college and say, okay, yeah, like we like Cam Ward, we like Shedeur Sanders, but we think next year, insert name here. I don't even know who's going to be coming out next year.
Arch? No, I'm kidding.
Right? No. If Arch was coming out next year,
Cade Klubnik.
Klubnik, maybe, but do you really look at Cade Klubnik as a first-round NFL quarterback? Not right now. But if you went Sam Darnold and then went Abdul Carter at number 1, or if you went Sam Darnold and Travis Hunter number 1, you may be able to convince some people that that's a good idea. But at the end of the day, it's still you're going after Sam Darnold that has failed in more places than he's succeeded.
My whole thing is if you're Tennessee, I get, and like JD brings up on the text line, Tennessee needs to trade back from 1 and sign Darnold. I get that is a real possibility, and I get that might be a safe move. However, if you're Tennessee, man, you have been you have missed at quarterback position you need some life pumped into this franchise. And I don't know that Sam Darnold's the guy that's going to pump life. I think it's more of a risk to go and get a Cam Ward, but I think long-term it'll pay off because it's a guy that can provide the rejuvenation to the franchise that really needs it, Diesel. So it'll be really interesting to see. Number 2 on the docket when it comes to around the NFL, 2 guys that had a huge, huge impact on winning the Super Bowl, Josh Sweat and Milton Williams, 2 free agents, Diesel. Josh Sweat has an offer reportedly from the Commanders and the Cardinals. Milton Williams, Broncos have offered, Patriots have offered. The Panthers have also been in the conversation when it comes to Josh Sweat, the edge. Look, I think there's a lot to be said about keeping guys that performed when the lights were the brightest, and these 2 guys did just that. If they both leave Philadelphia, I'm not saying Philadelphia is going to fall flat on their face, but you just can't let these 2 guys walk.
Do you think the Panthers, though, could pull that off? You know, if you're coming from Philly and you're coming from a class organization that just won a Super Bowl, do you really want to go to one of the worst franchises in professional football?
If the money's there, I mean, if the money's there, it'd be interesting, right? He's in his prime. He played in a 3-4, which is very similar to what the Panthers used last season. It's what Vic Fangio did in Philly. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could be a possibility. I love it. I mean, to have a guy like that in Josh Sweat in Charlotte, he had 8 sacks, 33 pressures. I think it, to your point, I don't know if it will happen, but boy, it'd be awesome. Those 2 guys, though, are going to be hot commodities, impact players wherever they go in the offseason. And
Joel, Cole, you got a fan here. We have a young Tolo in training who just stopped by the table, and he was like locking eyes and saying, wow,
new Tolo,
what these guys are doing is so cool over there. So shout out to this little guy who's got a killer head of hair too. And Joel, who stopped by earlier. I do wonder if Joel was in his car yet by the time that we shouted him out, because he might have still been over checking out at the register, getting to his car. Yep. But Joel, we definitely shouted you out before, and we're happy that you stopped by and scored one of these gift cards.
The third item on the docket, Diesel, is Davante Adams. Davante Adams, it has been reported that the Jets are doing a serious overhaul, no longer bringing back Aaron Rodgers, no longer bringing back Davante Adams. I know Davante Adams is in his early 30s. I think Davante Adams is still in his prime. Yeah. Based on his numbers, I don't know who will be the beneficiary, Diesel, of getting this guy to walk into their franchise. Situation matters. He wasn't in a good situation with Aaron Rodgers. They tried to make that work, right? Ever since he left Green Bay, he hasn't been on a winning team. I have a feeling that the reigning MVP will campaign in Josh Allen to get Davante Adams to Buffalo, which I think would be scary if you want to get past Patrick Mahomes.
Put him in Cincinnati, and you have him and T. Higgins on opposite sides of the ball. Now, are they going to be willing to take a cut in their numbers to go out and win trophies? Yeah. I don't know.
I think he's still – I mean, look, I think Davante Adams right now is a very, very hot commodity. Whoever gets him, huge upgrade, like instant upgrade. Yes. I'd love for my Dallas Cowboys too. I don't think it's going to happen, but to have CeeDee Lamb.
Would that be being selectively aggressive?
Maybe so. To have CeeDee on one side, one of the best receivers in the league, and Davante on the other side, one of the best. I mean, that'd be deadly. It'd be deadly. Dak would have no excuses, but we'll see. Diesel, the fourth item on the docket, something that broke over the weekend, and we haven't had a chance to discuss it yet. The former Chapman Panther, former South Carolina Gamecock, Deebo Samuel, is officially headed from the West Coast to the East Coast. Now reported, obviously, the deal won't be done until the league new year, March 12th, but Deebo Samuel headed to Washington. And when I saw that break over the weekend, I thought, oh, boy, like they were good.
Yeah.
And now they just got Deebo. Not good for my Cowboys in the same division or the Eagles. I mean, that's a huge get for Washington. Dan Quinn, are you kidding me?
That is, you add him to what Jaden Daniels already has in his wide receiver room, he is getting an instant upgrade.
I'm telling you, man, that's scary for the NFC East. Just flat scary. So congratulations to Debo. I know he wasn't happy in San Fran. I'm not sure exactly what happened that ruined that relationship, because Debo's one of the best in the game. Very simple. He's elite, and he's a game changer. And for a rookie quarterback, first year to be as good as Jaden Daniels was, year two, you're gifted. Debo Samuel.
And players like Debo want to go somewhere they can succeed. They don't want to go somewhere, and chase a wild card spot. They want to chase trophies.
That's unbelievable, man. Next on the docket around the NFL, Diesel, the Eagles re-signing Saquon. We touched on this yesterday. What does this say about Philadelphia emphasizing and replacing the value on the running back position that, let's be honest, wasn't there for several years? And the Philadelphia Eagles, when they added Saquon, they became immediate Super Bowl contenders. They won the dadgum thing because of Saquon and what he did all season long. He was fantastic, and now the running back position is once again valued.
Well, you talk about when, somebody gets paid a new massive contract, that it's setting the price or setting the value of that position in the NFL. This is, like you said, the Eagles setting the value back on the running back position. And I hope teams pay attention to this, Cole. I hope. Now, there maybe aren't but 2 or 3 guys in the NFL who are anything remotely like Saquon Barkley, because he was a ridiculous stud for the Eagles last year. But if we can get some of these coaches to come off this mindset of I've got to throw all the time, and you realize just how valuable this position is, hopefully it brings the league back to kind of a state of equilibrium where all elements of the offense are celebrated and valued.
Texter says, is Devontae's numbers only good because Aaron was supposedly funneling him targets at 32? Yeah, he's still good, but I think his market is as small as Aaron's. I don't agree with that. I think Devontae's market is much, much larger. Texter also says Debo to the Commanders is going to be legit. He needed the change of scenery, I think. Him and Jaden and Scary Terry should be legit. I completely agree with that. Eric Hines texts in and says he's a cancer in the locker room, a non-factor. Eric, I responded back to your text, Eric, who are you talking about? Debo? Devontae? I'm sorry, we've just been going through so many of these. Oh, he says Debo. Debo, you think is a cancer in the locker room? Well, I don't know. I mean,
I think Debo wanted out. It took the 49ers years to move on him. It took him 2 seasons to move on him, and he wanted out then and there.
Kane on the YouTube stream says, I want Slay back in Detroit. I bet you do. There's a lot of teams in the NFL that would like Darius back. I don't know if that's going to happen, though. Dallas freeing up $20 million in cap space, Diesel, restructuring C.D. Lamb's contract. Number one, I say kudos to C.D. Lamb for being a team player, not demanding the max and not allowing the team to have the structure where they have some cap available. The best players, I think, in the game, a la Tom Brady, have shown over the years that if you want to be able to add pieces in the offseason, you have to have friendly type structures to your contract that frees up cap space.
So, I mean, credit to CD for doing that, and credit to the Dallas Cowboys for doing that. But why didn't they do that with Dak Prescott's gigantic new salary? Dak, I'm sure, hears all the noise about, not getting it done in the playoffs. Why is it Dak giving up some of his money so that they can go out and get elite players?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with it. I like Dak. I would be fine if they could somehow. I think they might have restructured his one time. I don't know if it was the current deal or the previous deal, but I hopefully now that they have that $20 million freed up, they can go get Devontae. Go get it was just announced right before we went on the air today that the wide receiver DK Metcalf in Seattle has requested a trade. Go get DK. He wasn't as good statistically last year, Diesel, because Jackson Smith and Jigba was phenomenal. But go get a guy like DK Metcalf, who's still a really good receiver. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually use it. And then last, before we run to a break, Abdul Carter being the first projected pick. Simple question to you and the Tolos. Is Abdul Carter being the projected first overall pick the right move at number one?
I mean, it all comes down to what do you trust? Do you trust an elite edge rusher to do what he does, or do you trust an elite college quarterback who we know college quarterbacks, especially first rounders, they miss more often than they
do.
So who do you trust as a surer bet?
Yeah.
I think Abdul Carter has a tremendous amount of upside. Yeah, he's got this stress injury in his foot. I don't think that's going to slow him down one bit by the time they actually see the field. I think Abdul Carter is about as close to a sure thing as you're going to get.
Yeah.
And, you know me and my mentality when it comes to diva college quarterbacks. I generally don't think they're going to play out as well as they think they do. You saw Caleb Williams come in with that attitude last year. He struggled. Cam Ward's got that attitude. We'll see if he struggles or not. Maybe Cam Ward is going to be that dude in the NFL. Maybe Shadur Sanders is going to be that dude in the NFL and prove me wrong. I hope for their sakes that they do.
It could be interesting. It could be. I think I'm being sold a little more toward Abdul Carter going one. I really do.
It's interesting, Cole. When we come back on the other side of the break, there are so many sports stories to get to today. We'll do our sports whip around, our daily wires coming up next.
I'm Chuck Sanders.
Bryson and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
Reminder, Tolos, we have head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks ladies basketball team, Dawn Staley, joining us at 5 o'clock. Let's get to it, Cole, our Daily Wires. This is the buzz happening around the sports world. As reported by Adam Schefter today, the Chicago Bears are trading a 2026 fourth-round pick to the Kansas City Chiefs for two-time All-Pro guard Joe Thuney. Big-time trade.
That?
Houston Texans wide receiver Tank Dell underwent surgery today. He's facing a potential season-long absence after undergoing surgery to repair a torn ACL, MCL, and LCL.
God,
It's
how you
tough,
tear
man.
all three of them?
He's going to be out for a while.
That
The
is
Mets led the major leagues in spending for the third straight season in 2024, having totaled $1.36 billion in payroll and luxury tax over 4 years under their owner, Steve Cohen. That's exceeded what the Marlins, Pirates, and Rays each have spent on players in the past 21 years. So the Mets are going all in, man. They aren't messing around anymore. The Lakers' 40-year-old superstar LeBron James became the NBA's first 50,000-point man Tuesday night. He scored 34 against the Pelicans. The Lakers now 39-21, 10.5 games back
They're really good.
of the OKC Thunder.
Like they're really, really, really good.
Can they catch up? I mean, do they really need to? No, they just need to make
They're
the playoffs.
in second already. I mean, they're in second. I mean, they're like 10.5 right now behind Denver, which is
OKC,
I don't know.
Thunder.
Sorry, OKC. I don't know that they need to. I don't know. I think they'll be okay in the 2 spot.
It's going to be tough to make up
ooh.
10.5 games when the
Yeah.
other team's also playing real well.
That's right. Watch out.
Also in that game last night, Spartanburg's Zion Williamson went off to a tune of 37 points and 6 assists and 3 rebounds. So if you didn't catch it, you might want to go back and rewatch that game.
He
'Cause
went
two big-time
nuts last
performances.
night. I'm telling you, I watched, and he got to the rim at will. And that's the only problem. The Lakers don't really have a rim defender, and Zion exposed that last night.
Now, this is the Zion that everybody thought we were going to get for years, and it's sad that we've lost out on a couple seasons of that. Last night, the number 1 Auburn Tigers fell to Texas A&M. Final score 83-72. We spent some time earlier in the show talking about that game. A&M was just all over them from the jump, and Auburn could not dig out of that hole. South Carolina shot just 37% from the floor last night in their final home game of the season, a game that the Gamecocks lost 73-64 against Georgia.
Ending the season how they started.
Colin Murray Boyles finished with 24 points, his 4th consecutive 20-point game. He's a big-time player, Cole, but when you only got one guy stepping up night in and night out, you're unlikely to win a lot of games, especially in the SEC. Clemson baseball last night defeated USC Upstate 7-0 at Fluor Field. 5 Tiger pitchers combined for the shutout. Clemson's now won 9 in a row for an 11-1 overall record. In the 8th inning, USC Upstate loaded the bases. Got real close to putting up some runs on them, but Drew Titsworth battled out of it, striking out Jake Armsey to end the threat. And Clemson's bats were white hot last night as well. Jacob Jarrell hit a 3-run home run in the 5th. Jake Jarrell, excuse me, hit a 3-run homer in the 5th. In the 9th, Josh Payno, Tristan Becerra, and Andrew Chufo all hit home runs. Andrews was 448 feet.
Pretty good.
He got all of that one, as they say. I wonder, Cole, as you got guys in college now hitting the ball 450, with regularity, is it time to deaden the bats just a little bit?
No.
You want the home runs?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's fine. We'll just have football scores.
That's
How
right.
about that? Last night in Columbia, on the strength of a 5-run 5th, the South Carolina baseball Gamecocks defeated Davidson 7-3. Davidson got up early with a 3-run homer off from Jack Controne. In the 7th inning, Nathan Hall hit a 2-run single to left. Ethan Petrie had a double in the 6th. He now has 12 RBIs on the season. Tyler Pitzer gets the win, and the Gamecocks will face the Citadel tonight at 7.
Yeah, I turned that game on, and I saw they were down 3-0, and I thought, oh, no. If they lose to Davidson after getting swept by Clemson, South Carolina fans are going to be in a tough spot. But luckily, to your point, they pulled it out.
Well, as great as starting pitching was through the Clemson series, I know you're not throwing your number one arm against Davidson, but letting them get up early, that's definitely concerning. The Raiders are expected to release quarterback Gardner Minshew at the beginning of the league year. He played quite a bit for the Raiders. Does that mean they're going all in on drafting a quarterback
I
this
think
year?
so. I think that's as clear as it gets, right? And they should. I mean, they're in a tough spot. Gardner's not the answer. Everybody knows that, but they're in a tough spot. Let's see if Tom can hit this one on the draft, Diesel.
The SEC women's basketball tournament began today in Greenville, trying to get you the latest updated scores. Oh, my God. Tennessee defeated Texas A&M 77-37 in the first game of the day. Trying to find the score now for Arkansas, and Arkansas is playing Georgia. Trying to find that score.
Georgia won 79-74. Both teams are bottom feeders in the SEC.
Sure.
And the next game is at 6?
6 o'clock, Missouri, Mississippi State at 6, and then you've got Auburn, Florida
I tell you
at
this,
8:30.
Auburn, Florida tonight, two bad teams, but you're tomorrow, you're going to start getting some good games. I think better games than these bad teams will, be out of the way.
And lastly, Cole, this kind of goes back to our opening conversation about the GOAT, but neither one of us that into hockey. It could have that conversation about hockey. But Washington Capitals star Alex Ovechkin is 11 goals away from making NHL history and breaking Wayne Gretzky's career goals record. Here's where the good news starts. Starting tonight, every goal Ovechkin scores in the quest to reach Wayne Gretzky's number and for the rest of his career will raise funds towards pediatric cancer research. Ovechkin has partnered with Hockey Fights Cancer and the V Foundation for Cancer Research to launch the Great Chase for Victory Over Cancer, a campaign inspired by the Capitals' captain's pursuit of Gretzky's NHL record of 894 goals.
How about that?
Yep.
Tolos, we're going to run and bring you into hour number 3 of the program with the one, the only. I'm a huge fan of hers. I love Dawn Staley. She has done a phenomenal job in her tenure at South Carolina. We all love Dawn Staley. How can you not love Coach Staley? She joins us live in the very next segment on her bus ride from Columbia to Greenville. We'll talk Gamecocks with the GOAT. Nobody can argue with that one, right? Dawn Staley next.
Upstate.
Hour number 3 of the program coming your way as we are live at Ingles on 1,500 Poinsett Highway in Greenville. Still 2 more hours. 2 more hours, Tolos, for you to have a chance to stop by and get an Ingles gift card. Diesel and I will be here until 7 o'clock tonight. But we want to bring in a very, very special guest on this Wednesday evening. We bring in the head basketball coach of the Lady Gamecocks, Coach Dawn Staley. Coach, it's Cole here, and I just want to tell you, I love you. I'm a big fan of yours and always will be. But before we get into basketball, please tell me you did not bring any of that filthy Philadelphia green with you to the amazing city of Greenville. Sincerely, a miserable, diehard Dallas Cowboy fan.
Oh, man. If you would have told me that before requesting me to come on, I would not be talking to you, Cole. Seriously, I like to say in a winning way. You don't want any of that to rub off on that big star nose.
I'll take it. I'll take all the flag. I deserve it. It's miserable. So we appreciate you, Coach.
Dawn, it's Diesel here. Appreciate you taking the time to join us on your drive up here to Greenville. It's got to feel like a nice, great second home as much as you've won here in the city of Greenville in the SEC tournament. I just wonder, now that you've had a couple days off, how much does the rest versus rust debate enter into your mind? And is it cemented in your mind as like, here's how I always handle this, like it's a philosophy? Or do you think you have to kind of gauge it year by year, team by team, and know how this individual group responds to having a couple more days off or keeping them busy?
I like to think that I gauge it year by year, but sometimes you get in a little bit of a habit of how you've done things in the past. But certainly with the team that we have this year, I really didn't think about not taking the 2 days off after our regular season ended. This team deserves it. We played a tough schedule from the non-conference to the rigors of SEC. So I'm one that thinks rest is equally as important as getting out there and working out. And I know our team. I thought the 2 days of rest and the way they came in for practice today makes me feel good about giving them those 2 days off.
Really good stuff there. We're joined by Coach Dawn Staley right here on the Fan Upstate. Coach, we're told a lot of times toward the end of the year that at this point in the season, you are who you are. Do you believe and buy into that philosophy with this year's current team? Or do you look at it from a standpoint of, hey, we finished out the regular season. You beat Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, Kentucky to end the season, but there are still things that this team, even though it's late in the year, can get better on before the SEC tournament.
Yeah, I really do think that the habits that you build over a regular season is who you are. But within those habits, within, seeing what we're good at and what we're not good at, I do think we can get a little bit of bump for us, this team. A little bump from, I think we can rebound a little bit better. I do. I still think we can rebound better. I think that we haven't all played well on a stretch. There were maybe a player or two that may have had career nights, and then other people kind of fall back. But I think we have more people playing their best basketball right now than not on our team. So I feel real good about where we are, just going into this. It's a daunting task to take this drive to Greenville, knowing that was at our destination. Granted, we got to take care of business. We got to just take each game as it is, but it's hard not to it's hard to overlook, the Kentucky and the Texas and the LSU and the Ole Miss and the Oklahoma. Like, all of those teams are super, super great. And I know I'm probably missing a Tennessee. We play the winner of the Tennessee-Vandy game tomorrow. So it is a unforgiving conference.
like unforgiving. Like you cannot take a day off. You cannot take a moment off without our opponent, somebody in this league, taking advantage of it.
Don, can you go into some of the challenges specifically that Tennessee, both Tennessee and Vanderbilt, pose? Do they have the ability to be really multiple in the way they change schemes throughout the games? What about either of those teams do you really have to drill in on as you figure out who you're going to face?
Well, with Tennessee, I mean, obviously they're going to pressure. They're going to pull for pressure all game long. They're gonna play with just high octane offense. They're not one that's gonna be very patient offensively. They're gonna take the first available shot. So you got to be on pins and needles with every pass, because every pass can lead to a shot. You never know when that shot's gonna be taken. They create a lot of offense from their defense, so you got to take care of the basketball. I think the best way to handle Tennessee is to not let them score. If you don't let them score, you can't set their press up. With Vandy, we just played Vandy, a week and a half ago, where they got one of the most polished freshmen in the country. She was our lead freshman of the year, Michaela Blake, who is the head of the snake for them. But they got other players on their team that can really score the basketball. And they do keep you off balance because they tend to mix things up. They can start their defense in zone, and then two passes within your offense. They're in main. So your point guards really have to be aware of their changing defenses. But with a team like Vandy, we definitely got to allow our posts you got to put them in a position to do a lot of things with the basketball, because they do play a smaller lineup due to some injuries that they sustained over the season.
We're joined by Dawn Staley right here on the Fan Upstate. Coach, it was announced just a couple of days ago that Malaysia Fulwiley captured a major award as she was named the 2025 sixth woman of the year in the Southeastern Conference. You've got a good problem, because there was some debating going on social media when it comes to Fulwiley and Joyce Edwards, who are both phenomenal for you and your team. But when you talk about both of them and the impact they have, how hard of a decision was that for them to make, trying to decide between the two?
For us, I mean, I told our sports media relations, Diana, I'm like, that to promote Cole Sixth Woman of the Year, because it's hard to choose one. Lay's had a great year. Joyce had a great year. It's unfortunate that they had to choose one, but the choice had to be within, our South Carolina women's basketball team, which isn't a bad choice. But I think, the fact that Joyce made the first team all SEC, I think she would take that as a consolation.
Coach Dawn Staley joining us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson, one of our Tolos. Dawn, his name is JB. Wants you to know he'll be there sitting in section 108 watching your team play on Friday. After the UCLA loss, you beat Iowa State by 40. After the Texas loss, you beat Florida by 38. After the UConn loss, you beat Arkansas by 40. Pretty good turnaround to say that after you lose, you win by 39 and a third points. What did you learn about yourself and this team and the way they respond after having a couple of tough outings this season?
Well, one that, when we put the habits that we created all season long on the floor, the really positive habits, we are a formidable basketball team. I can't say that. I can't say that without saying, when we don't bring our habits, when we bring those bad habits into basketball games, that you play a team like UCLA, you play a team like UConn, you play a team like Texas, when you take bad shots, when we took bad shots in those three losses that we could not survive, they created offense from our bad shots. It was almost like just give them the ball and let them go down, and score, not even get a shot up. And those shots that we took were that bad that it created so much just imbalance from a transitional defensive standpoint that you might as well just give them the 2 points and not even, waste your innings to go down the floor. The rebounding wasn't great when we played those three teams at that time of those losses. So, I mean, I like where we are now. And I like the fact that we can learn from a few setbacks and put ourselves in a position to play dominant basketball. We just can't afford ourselves to do that anymore now because it's win or go home at this point.
Win or go home, it is indeed, Coach. I want to ask you, take a step back, a little bit broad, big picture here when it comes to college athletics. One of your coworkers, the football coach at South Carolina, Coach Shane Beamer, testified about NIL's impact on college sports yesterday. We talked a lot about that on the show. Just wanted to hear from you in terms of your thoughts on where we are in as a whole with college athletics and how NIL has impacted the game, and if you side in what was said yesterday with from Coach Beamer.
I don't know exactly what he said. Didn't read the article. Just been really head down in what we need to do to win and be successful in Greenville, but I do have an opinion on, I think NIL has changed the entire landscape of how we do things. And I do think it's changed somewhat of how you coach, meaning I find myself, for me, explaining myself a lot more, like just more understanding, and maybe that's what's needed, regardless of whether it's NIL involved. But if you allow players that play bad or didn't get enough playing time or what have you, didn't agree with them or their families or their supporters, if you don't address it, it becomes they become the biggest voices in our players' heads. And a lot of times when things don't go your way, you would think, okay, transfer for, they're going to transfer, they're going to transfer, they're going to do this. And it's exhausting to have to do that after every single instance. But you have to do it. You have to do it. You have to explain yourself, explain why certain things played out the way it did. And if you do that enough, you can condition your players and their loved ones, their supporters, to understand that, one decision that I make today doesn't have anything to do with the decision I make tomorrow. We got a really good basketball team. We got some of the best players in the country. Only 5 can be on the floor at the end of the game. Only 5 can start the game. So somebody's going to have to, like all the awards came out yesterday. You mentioned Malaysia, you mentioned Joyce, Raven, Nia Fagan were all defensive teams, and you look at a player like a Breezy Hall, who is, in my 25 years of coaching, she's in my all defensive team, and she doesn't make the all defensive team in our conference. So it's things like that you have to be, aware of and know, and I have to let Breezy know how much I value her, because if she thinks her value is, according to what 15 other SEC coaches, what they think, a lot of times they're not even thinking about what you're doing out there, because they're looking at that. How many steals you got, how many blocks you got, how many defensive rebounds you have. And they make up those teams according to that. And not to say that Raven and Fagan and all those other players didn't deserve to be on there, but we got one of the best defensive teams in the country. So we got enough players that can fill up the all defensive teams in the SEC conference. So it's things like that will impact NIL. Like NIL impacts, how we navigate daily. how we navigate game by game. Is it fair? You know, it's fair only because everybody else has to deal with it. Is there another way? I think there's another way, but everybody's got to agree on it, and everybody's got to receive it in the way that it is. But you know, I embrace the challenge of NIL. I try to figure out ways in which to succeed within the confines of existing in our ever so changing sport.
Coach, you've stood across the court many times from a colleague in coaching and a competitor, Kim Mulkey. So you got a lot of options to choose from here. What's your single most impressive Kim Mulkey fit? Is it the black jacket with the stars and the moons? Is it the pink leather biker jacket, the 70s candy stripe? Which one do you look at and just shake your head and be like, I cannot believe she wore that?
Well, actually, I would say I can't believe she wore something so conservative the last time, like on Sunday. She wore it like a conservative suit. And I was like, okay, Kim. And we won the coin flip on the day that she wore that. So I was digging her outfit.
Maybe she needs to keep wearing those same styles of outfits. Coach, before we let you go, my last question for you. You talked about improving and facing adversity. Your teams have one trademark, in my opinion, of your teams is that late in the season, even though regardless of what you've done in conference or out of conference early in the season, your teams, turn it up a notch in the postseason. Is that something that you have to coach into a team, or is that just part of the fabric of the DNA of the type of players you recruit?
I just think that, our teams have made deep tournament runs, for the past couple of years, and it's pretty much par for the course. I think they have a really good understanding of what it really means. Sometimes the journey can, drag on from day to day. I think it gets some cumbersome when it comes to knowing what you want to accomplish. Day to day is hard to see it, but once you get closer to the end goal, they have a certain level of focus and they have a certain level of familiarity, and that is that we got to really go. Somebody's trying to take what we set out to win. All of those days in the summer, running in sand or running hills. We want to make sure that it wasn't done in vain. So during this time, they do have a way of turning up, and I hope this year is the year they stay in character.
She is Dawn Staley, the head coach of the South Carolina ladies Gamecocks. They'll play Friday at noon right here in Greenville at Bon Secours Wellness Arena. That means 48 hours from now. We hope that they'll be advancing farther into this SEC tournament. Best of luck to you. We appreciate your time today, and have a safe trip up.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, that is Dawn Staley, head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks. Cole poised, I think, to make another big run. Hopefully go win this whole thing and just stay right here for a couple of days and keep playing in Greenville. But, of course, after that, they'll be making a run into the NCAA tournament
and that's what's most important, the NCAA. However, I've already canceled plans on Sunday because I know Dawn Staley and the Lady Gamecocks will be playing in the championship on Sunday. My prediction is they'll be playing against Texas on Sunday. I told somebody today, I turned down something that I love doing because I said, look, I'm covering South Carolina this weekend. They're going to be playing Sunday. I've just it's going to happen. So I've got confidence. Like I said, they're going to turn it up a notch. Postseason play, I can't wait. I love Coach Staley, man, and she's fantastic. And for her, Diesel, to take time to hop on with us, in the midst of this tournament, and it means a lot. And shout out to her as well as Diana, who is absolutely fantastic. We couldn't have done it without her, so we appreciate both of them.
Yeah, and for her sake and for the teams and fan base's sake as well, I hope they do face Texas in the championship game, because that'll be an opportunity there at some redemption. They lost to Texas, and again, I was saying
that's right.
3 losses, average margin of victory. The game following that loss, 39 1/3 points. They are just beating teams down after they stumble this season. So hopefully they won't do that again, and they'll make their way all the way to an SEC championship game. When we come back, it is time for you and I to time shift just a little bit. The 5 o'clock fight, obviously, we had to move over just a little bit for Dawn Staley, but we'll bring you a Wednesday staple, the 5 o'clock fight, coming your way next, right here on the Fan Upstate.
Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
You know, you're lucky, Cole, that Dawn didn't hang up on us right away.
I know. That's a great.
You come out of the gate telling her you're a Cowboys fan.
We got to
What's
get a
wrong with
promo
you?
out of that, man. That was good stuff. She's so awesome.
Yeah.
She's just so awesome.
And
I
a
love
wealth
her.
of knowledge. God, you could just get lost in the deep dive of knowledge she drops on you with every single answer. We appreciate Dawn's time, and of course they're headed up this way. I wonder exactly where they are. I know they had some media availability in Columbia at like 2:00 this afternoon,
I'd guess
so they might be
26.
about the halfway point. Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be a good guess. What part of traffic are you sitting in? Columbia traffic or Greenville traffic?
I don't know, man. I'd take 26 any day over 85. Any day, you know? Like, it's a long drive.
You know, it was weird. I was on 26, now a different part of 26 up in North Carolina, just about to go into Tennessee last weekend, and it is deserted. There's nothing up there in that stretch. At least it's about 30 minutes outside of Asheville, the Mars Hill area. It feels like you've made a wrong turn.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, this is odd. Kind of like whenever you go on like 185 and it's so empty that it feels like I'm not supposed to be here.
The only thing
That's
that
kinda what
slows
it's
you
like.
down on 26 going to Columbia is the construction. They've been working on a project. I don't know if you've been on 26 down that way lately. They've been working on the project for years.
You don't want to get me going on South Carolina DOT and just how slow they are when it comes to getting projects done. Cole, to put it this way, I dated a girl before I met my wife.
Work for DOT?
No.
So
I'd still be trying to get her last name as slow as she works. No, I dated a girl who lived up in Spartanburg, forgot her name, met my wife, and have been married to her now for 2 years plus the 4 years before that, or 3 years before that we dated. I've already forgotten that first woman's name. That's how long it's taken SCDOT to work on I-85.
That's terrible.
Through northern Greenville and Spartanburg counties. It's bad. Come on. That's what we need to do. We need to interview somebody from DOT and find out what the hell's taking them so long. Okay, Cole, it is time for you and I to break out the knives and start fighting about it. The 5 o'clock fight is here on this segment. You and I pick 3 different topics, sometimes sports, sometimes not. We have to take the opposite sides of the argument, and the Tolos tell us who wins each round. Here we go. It's the 5 o'clock fight.
It's an all-out slugfest, and nobody's leaving unscathed. 3 topics, 1 winner. It's the 5 o'clock fight on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Tolos, you can play along. You can send us your votes throughout by texting 844-FAN-PHONE, or you can jump in on the stream on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at the Fan Upstate. We're now on Twitter again on the Fan Upstate live stream because we're bona fide, man. We got that blue check mark. So look at us. We are big time in it over there.
Big time.
You can keep you can go as we go, like question by question, or wait until the end and tell us who wins each round. But here we go with round number 1. Pushing another man from behind into the end zone. Cole, get your mind out of the gutter. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the tush push. Should we ban it or leave it in professional football?
So I put this on the rundown because we were told that Melissa Level from Ingles was going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa couldn't make it out, I'm sure, because of SoCon stuff going on, the SoCon tournament,
Busy.
starting this week. So she couldn't make it, but we get it. She's busy. She's big time. She's awesome. So I put this on the rundown because you and I had discussed this, but I hadn't gotten her thoughts on it. And I know she always sides with you, but I wanted to hear anyways. I want to hear I was wrong anyways. So you and I
I'm going to go broke paying her a 20 every time she comes
I know.
by.
It's worth it, though, I guess. We've talked about this, and I'm standing firm on my tush push. It's a legal play. There's nothing illegal about it. It shouldn't go anywhere. If you don't like it, I guess you just have to go over to the Ingles pharmacy and get you a bottle of, you got to deal with it because it's a play. It's a quarterback sneak assisted by 2 runners from the behind, which it doesn't violate the assisting the runner rule. So I'm okay with the tushes and the pushes.
Well, the fact is, Cole, we all know what it is. We know that it is assisting the runner, even though by definition, assisting the runner in the NFL is pulling a runner forward or picking them up and carrying them forward. We know full well that you are assisting the runner. And, Cole, it's not just my opinion that the tush push should be banned. It's also Mark Schlereth's opinion. that the tush push should be banned because in 2013, the NFL changed the rules for defensive teams, specifically in special teams, saying that, quote, they cannot push teammates on the line of scrimmage into the offensive formation. That penalty is unnecessary roughness, a loss of 15 yards from the previous spot. So explain to me, Cole, why you should be able to push the runner forward from behind on offense, but it is a penalty to push a defender forward on defense, or in this case, special teams.
Well, what does Mark Schlereth know, first of all? I mean, what, I mean, come on. I mean, we acting like Mark. I mean, no, kidding. We've had him on the show. He's fantastic. He has a great promo that runs on this station. Didn't I hit the dump button on Schlereth?
Was it Schlereth?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it was Schlereth. He says
football?
You don't know bleep about football.
It started with a D, by the way. It's great, great promo. He's the best. We love him. He's awesome. He comes on the show. But it's a different formation. It's defense, special teams, offense. I'm fine with it. I say keep it around. You just got to get over it.
Okay, here we go with round number 2.
Round 2, fight.
Cole, have you ever shopped at, I don't want to say the name of the grocery store because it's not where we are right now, but it's the grocery store that has the carts that all like hook together and you got to put a quarter in to break one free and get a cart.
What kind of stores do you go to?
Well, it starts with an A. It's a grocery store.
Here's the problem. No, it's bougie. You're bougie.
It's more of a discount grocery store.
I
I asked that question for a reason, Cole.
Okay.
Because I had a different round 2 planned here. But as we're doing the show, something catches the corner of my eye. And there's a shopper, a young lady. I like to say young because I want to be polite. She was probably in her late 30s, maybe early 40s, who walked a shopping cart from her car all the way over here to the side of the building next to the corner cafe, and then just like pushed it towards the wall, turned around, and let it go.
And
walked away.
It's not a buggy thing there, right? There's no.
There's no cart corral there. There's no
cart corral like that.
There's you don't see that whole line of carts out there where she just put.
Is it bad that I say buggy? By the way,
no, it's not.
Okay.
It's not. It's okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
And the thing is, Cole, it just like the fact that this a little bit of a slope. The cart just turns around and starts heading back out into the parking lot.
It's a robo cart.
Could have hit a car. Could have hit the car that was parked here that was trying to load up. I just wanted to question, Cole, should people like that be allowed to even shop in public anymore? People who just put their cart wherever the hell they want it, not where it's supposed to go.
Do you know that? Okay, I'll answer the question, and then I'll tell you what I was going to tell you. The question is, should they be allowed to shop there again?
Should they be allowed to? Should she be banned for life?
No, they shouldn't be banned for life. However, I will say, where you put your cart tells us, as the public, a lot about you. It says a lot about you.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
If you're going to walk the cart all the way back to the store, how about just walk it 30 more feet this way and bring it inside?
She probably had to walk it farther to put it here than in one of the cart corrals.
Well, her child was crying in the back.
Look, I'm going to the store manager after this is done, Cole. We're pulling up CCTV. We're going to find out who this lady is. I guarantee you she just used her Ingles Advantage card and ban this lady because we live in a society.
No, you can't ban
to
her.
Quote George Costello. If they could ban Pete Rose, we could ban that lady. Come on now. Yeah, get her out of here. We don't want you here anymore.
No mas. No mas.
Here we go. Round number 3.
Final round. Fight.
They're working on it, Cole. They're implementing it. They're bringing it into the game. Robo-umps in Major League Baseball. Now, they're not going to be calling outs, maybe eventually, but as of right now, they're just calling balls and strikes. Robo-umps, are you for them or against them?
100% for them. Sign me up. Bring them on. Bring them out of Mars or whatever planet they come from, whatever manufacturing plant and whatever foreign country. Bring them. Bring them by the truckloads. Baseball, strikes, and balls are far too important to be missed, especially in big games, especially in the postseason. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago with the Hawkeye technology in the NFL. You've got to get these right. I know that you're eliminating people's jobs. Well, guess what?
I don't care about that.
I don't care. There's jobs everywhere. Go get another job. You can find another job. I don't feel bad for people when they go find another job. Yeah, you got to have them, Diesel. I'm all for robo-umps.
No, you got to keep them out of the game. You know why, Cole? Because it's just like anything. When you implement a new technology, it will rapidly get smarter and better. And what I'm afraid of, Cole, Terminator 2. I'm afraid of Skynet. It's coming. So they're going to take over. Like, at first, it's just some camera mounted to the press box looking down, creating a little strike zone. Then, Cole, it's going to be one of those freaky-looking robot dudes from iRobot. And if you don't like the call, you can't turn around and argue with a 6'6" robot because you know that thing's got the strength of an orangutan. It's going to kick your butt. No, we need weak, sickly umpires, real people in the box making these decisions forever, Cole. I don't want to see a robot standing back there. That is your 5 o'clock fight. To recap, round number 1, the tush push. Ban it or leave it. Cole says, leave it. I say, get it out of here. Round 2, should people who don't put their shopping carts back where they go at a grocery store be banned from that grocery store for life? I say, yeah, keep them out. We don't want them around here anymore. Cole says, no, you got to give them another chance. And round 3, robo-umps, keep them, ban them. Cole says, bring them on. I say, leave them on the scrap heap. How about that? That is your 5 o'clock fight. Now it's time for you to text in at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. Tell us who wins each round. And if you want to suggest a 5 o'clock fight, here's how.
What do you want Diesel and Cole Bryson to fight about next?
If you've got an ass, I'll kick it.
Submit your topics to Diesel at thefanupstate.com. Subject line, fight on the Fan Upstate.
I've got a bonus one because this just happened to me about an hour ago.
Mm-hmm.
During the commercial break, went to the restroom. Okay. Used
Another
the restroom.
bathroom story from Ingles?
Yeah. Another one. Used the restroom, washed my hands, and I always take the towel, or the paper towel, rather, the second one or third one, after my hands are dry and use it to open the door, right?
Yeah, you should.
So the question is, on the bonus round of the 5 o'clock fight, and Tolos, get those votes in right now. We're not waiting on you because we're up against the break. When you hold the door for somebody and they don't say thank you, do you have an issue with that?
I do.
Huge.
I automatically think it's a bad person.
Okay, so we agreed on this.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
I mean, oh man, that guy just dropped everything. Did you see that?
Well, he should have got a buggy.
He's got
his arms loaded up.
Oh gosh, he's gonna hear me too because there's a speaker right there. Sorry,
Evan, go turn it off,
man.
quick.
No, it's okay. Turn it up. Turn it up. Should have get a buggy next
now
time.
He's looking
buddy.
around, wondering where it's coming from.
Yeah, if you hold the door for somebody, unless they're mute or deaf or just deaf, they still. Say thank you. Well, you hold the door for somebody.
I'm with you.
If they don't, I turn in my head, I'll turn around and say you're welcome.
As simple as it is to just open the door for somebody, Cole, and as much as I don't want like robot umps, I want automated everything in public bathrooms.
Yeah,
I want the water that turns on automatically. I want the soap pump thing that pumps out soap automatically. I want the paper towel dispenser that puts it out automatically. And I want an automatic door opener to open the bathroom door when I walk up near it. I don't want to have to touch anything in a bathroom because I know for a fact that there are millions upon millions of dirty birdies in this country who don't wash their hands after they go to the bathroom. And whatever they touch on their way out of the bathroom
turns to gold.
If I touch it, it turns to something else.
Yeah.
It's not gold.
Yeah.
It's more of a brown color.
Yeah.
But come on.
I'm with you.
I shouldn't have to touch anything in the bathroom.
I'm with you on that. I just don't like people that don't say thank you. And again, I always hold the door for people. I always do. It's Southern hospitality, right?
Dewey says Diesel is lazy.
No.
Maybe so. I also just don't want to have Dookie on my hands.
April Mosley says clean sweep for Cole today. April, cha-ching. That's what I'm talking about.
April, what did I ever do to you?
I'm telling you, you just sided with me. She can't help that I'm smart.
She's siding with the people who don't put their carts away. April.
Cadillac says, I always park as close to the cart corral as possible. Cole gets 1 and 3 for the win. You know, I've never heard it called cart corral until you called it that today.
That's what I call it.
Well,
what else do you
cart
call it?
corral.
Let's see. Texter here says Diesel wins round 1 because the tush push is cheating.
Oh, my.
Diesel wins round 2. Didn't explain why on that one. I think it's pretty obvious. And Diesel wins round 3 because robo-umps will take jobs. And Cole wins the bonus round for being a decent.
Thank you. Thank you, Tolo.
I just think we should be able to publicly shame these people, right? Like, what's wrong with public shaming? It's how we teach people the rules and mores of a society.
Moray. I know Moray.
It's not French.
I know Moray.
French, yeah, a Belgian impressionist painter, huh?
All right, Diesel, I have some really good audio from Dabo Swinney yesterday in his presser post-spring practice. And Dabo went on a little bit of a rant yesterday. Your thoughts and the Tolo's thoughts on what Dabo Swinney had to say, that is next.
upstate.
Just got a text. Want to give a shout out to John Michael Fail, who played college baseball at North Greenville, played high school baseball at Boiling Springs right here in the upstate. Buddy of mine, Mark, said that he's playing with the big team today in Cincinnati, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Mark, but coming in relief at first base. Pretty awesome to be able to see somebody from North Greenville getting some playing time at the major league level. So shout out to him, John Michael Fell. Great person, and best of luck to him. But a little bit of audio here on tampering. Does Dabo Sweeney have a point? John Blau from the Post and Courier asked him a question. I'm sorry, I may have said John Blau, either State or Post and Courier. I'll find out for sure. I don't want to get it wrong there during the audio. But John Blau asked Dabo about tampering and if he would cancel the spring game.
No, we're gonna have a spring game, and I hope we can have some type of fan day with it as well. I don't know, we'll see. But it's. I mean, listen, whether you have a spring game or not, it's gonna be tampering. Ain't nobody gonna go look at the spring game and go, oh yeah, boy, they got PFF. That's called PFF. They got everything on everybody already. So, there's canceling the spring game ain't gonna stop tampering. We're gonna need a lot more help than that to stop tampering. And hopefully at some point that'll happen.
Does he mean somebody's going to be there spying on the spring game and then trying to lure players off the roster after the spring game? Is that what Dabo's talking about?
I don't know if in person or somehow getting footage of it, but Dabo says it ain't going to stop tampering. By the way, thank you for the help there. John was with the Post and Courier, so he asked Dabo about that. Tampering in college athletics. I don't want to. This isn't going out on a limb, I don't think, but I'll say this. I don't think tampering in college athletics will ever go away. What's the solution?
It's called competition.
Yeah.
Unless you've got a spy, unless you're paying somebody a la Michigan to go and watch other teams play. They were real good at it. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can change it. I mean, the whole point is you're trying to gain competitive edges.
It's interesting that it was asked about a spring game, though, because we are seeing, and not like widespread, but we are seeing programs in college football not hold a spring game. I know that it happens now at the high school level. I've been told before by coaches that, we're not doing a spring game. There's no need for it. So I do wonder if, Diesel, as time goes on, if spring games will be a thing of the past. I think it's important to the players to be able to get these reps in a game-like atmosphere, but I just wonder, I think every coach has a different viewpoint on them, right?
Well, I'm finally excited because Dowell Loggins is bringing the spring game back to Boone. App State hasn't had one in a number of years. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
The entire Sean Clark tenure.
What was his reasoning? Do you know?
I don't know. I never could get an idea of why they didn't do it. I went to Apologies, Tolos. The audio issues on location are what they are. Our Comrex broadcast equipment just started fritzing out on us in the middle.
Water on.
Yeah, we didn't know exactly what was going on. It sounded like that sort of the electricity sound effect that you hear all the time. You know exactly what I'm talking about in our headset, and our Comrex just died on us. So we're back here live on location at Ingalls Market's 1500 Poinsett Highway in Greenville. Cole, have we given away all of the $5?
We have one more, baby.
How about
one
that,
more.
Tolos? You can come by in the last hour of the show here at the this would be the Cherrydale location, right in between, nestled in between Poinsett Highway and Pleasantburg Drive. Grab yourself an Ingalls gift card. I mean, we're paying you to come by and see us. We also have some cool prizes to give away on the table as well. We'll be here for another hour. Fantastic to have Dawn Staley on the show earlier as she's on her way up to Greenville to coach in the SEC Women's Tournament. They will play on Friday at noon, playing the winner of Tennessee Vanderbilt. If you missed that conversation, we will have it available for you on the Odyssey app and over at thefanupstate.com, as well as all the platforms on our social medias that we're going to send that audio out to you guys so that you can find it whenever, wherever. Cole, I was just thinking, what would it be like if you were sitting in a bar somewhere in a foreign country and somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, Mr. American, sir, I don't understand your sports. I don't understand. We say we don't understand soccer. We say we don't understand rugby. And if it takes more than about 30 seconds to a minute to explain a game to me, it's too complex. I don't want to be a part of it." But how would you, Tolos, explain American sports to somebody who doesn't have a clue what that sport is all about? And the challenge for you at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663, is to do it in 30 seconds to a minute or less.
That's tough.
Now, you think it's simple.
Yeah.
You think it's easy. But I guarantee you, it's a little more complex, and you need a little more time to try to do it. So let's hear it from you, Tolos. Football, baseball, basketball, all your favorite sports. I'm not going to say soccer because I know it's not one of your favorite sports. How would you explain it to somebody who doesn't know what the game is all about? That's your charge, your challenge at 844-326-3663. Cole, I guess it's all about distilling the game down to its absolute basic essence.
And this is any sport.
Yeah, it could be any sport.
Any sport.
If you want to explain badminton, go right ahead. I would love for you to explain it to me too, because I don't know what it's all about.
It's interesting you bring this up because I told you on air a couple of days ago, I went to my first lacrosse game. And trying to explain that to someone is difficult because I don't know. I'm still learning it. So I think if you are introduced to a sport for a long period of time, you have a much easier way of explaining it. But without boring them or confusing them, I'm trying to think of what would be the most exciting sport possible. Because 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever it may be, your chances of boring them go up. I mean, what's the most riveting sport out there?
Football. Right?
I think so.
Is it football? Yeah. Is football the best sport? Can we just admit it? It's
well,
the best sport?
I mean, it's my favorite. It wouldn't be baseball, right? Baseball is boring unless you have a dog in the fight, unless you have a team that you pull for, right? So I guess it would have to be football. And maybe in this instance, maybe in this case, it would be explaining college football because explaining the NFL has gotten tricky with all the kickoff changes, the way that teams have to line up for a kickoff and rule changes. It feels like there are a lot of rule changes year in and year out when it comes to NFL.
Sometimes I feel like, especially because we don't delve into it on this show, so we don't make it our lives.
Yeah.
Anytime there's something going on in the political sphere, I have to go over to Charlie James over on WRD, and I say, explain what's going on to me like I'm stupid. Like, explain it to me like I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
And if it takes you more than about 90 seconds, 60 seconds, I'm out.
I don't know. Maybe I'm rethinking this. Maybe, last week after the Four Nations face-off, I told you that hockey just doesn't do it for me, right? But maybe if you're having to explain a sport to someone and trying to catch their interest, is hockey? Would hockey be above football? Would Tolos be more, or not Tolos, but would people who aren't familiar, to your point, if you were in a foreign country or something like that, maybe you know what? This one might surprise you. Soccer might be
the easiest
to explain.
How do you explain offsides? How do you explain the timing rules? Because the timing rules confuse the hell out of me. Here's what I don't get about the timing rules of soccer, Cole, is when you're trying to watch it on TV and figure out how much more extra time there's gonna be, because they don't tell you that. Like, there's no counter, right? You play, 80 minutes in soccer, and if there's injury timeouts, you add extra time on. But when do they start the clock? When do they stop the clock? How do you know how much injury time there's going to be? Because they don't put a freaking clock on the TV. And I don't know when, pansy guy from Belgium goes down because he's got a boo-boo on his shin. How are they even calculating? Because sometimes they don't tell you if they've even started the penalty clock.
You're right.
That confuses the living hell out of me. And that's one of those things, Cole, that kind of makes me angry at the end of soccer games when there's penalty time. I don't know how much extra time there's going to be.
So I do know, okay, I'm not a soccer expert here, right? But when you talk about extra time being added for injuries, that's where it gets cloudy for me in terms of if it matters how long the player was down.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's just I don't know. Maybe you're right.
It feels entirely subjective. Like a referee's got a stopwatch somewhere. And like, what if he's all the way over on the other side of the field and the guy over here goes down? Does he stop at the moment that guy goes down? What if the guy gets right back up? How do you subtract the time of when the guy got back up? So that's one of those things that needs some extra explanation.
Sure.
That I certainly don't understand for the game. Honestly, I don't think a lot of people know. I think it's like just kind of a BS thing where they just say, you know what?
We're okay with it.
It feels like 7 minutes, so we'll just go with 7 minutes.
It's interesting. I don't know that I've ever encountered. I don't watch a lot of soccer, as you know, right? But if I were explaining the easiest sport, football would probably be one. Now, if my job was to easily explain a sport, I would say baseball would be up there. But in terms of capturing their interest, like I said, maybe that's where it starts becoming a little cloudy because to a lot of people, baseball can be a boring game, right?
So I tell you what, Cole, you are a football expert because you call football as a play-by-play analyst. I would love to hear you explain American football to me is 30 too fast? Can I give you 60?
60's fine, yeah.
60 seconds, and let's see. For somebody who doesn't know anything about football, pretend I know nothing about football. And a lot of our Tolos are like, Diesel, we know you know nothing about football because we listen to the show. Explain it.
All right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
Diesel, two teams are competing in a sporting contest. It's called football, okay? Basically, what's going to happen is one team is going to kick off to the other team. That team will be receiving the football. What dictates that? Well, I'm glad you asked. A coin toss. A coin toss will precede the game, and whoever wins the coin toss will get to choose whether they get the ball or kick. Whoever gets it will obviously have to kick in the second half. There are 4 quarters, 2 halves. The first 2 quarters in the first half of play. Second 2 quarters, the second half of play. The team that kicks off will be on defense. The team that gets the football will obviously be on offense. That team that gets the football will have 4 downs to achieve a first down, and until they get into the end zone, they'll have to repeat that process. The defense's job is to stop that team and get the football back. If they stop them on 3 downs, the offensive team will have to punt the football, which is a special team play. That will happen until the end of the game, and whoever has the most points will come out on top.
Stop. That's 59.82 seconds.
What do you think? Is that pretty good?
What's a first down? You left out a key ingredient of the game. What is a first down?
You have to get 10 yards for a first down. You have to get 10 yards.
Are they playing inside? Are they playing outside?
When 60 seconds is
when you
tough,
flip a coin, is one team just designated as the heads team and the tails team? No, they actually choose. Well, does that mean that team automatically gets the ball? No. Then they get to say which side they want to kick off to. So it's definitely there's definitely a lot of nuance and confusion.
Yeah.
To the game.
It's hard. It's way too.
It's hard.
It's tough. That's tough. I'd like to see if Patolo can do it better, though. Let's see. On the text line, Jay Waller from Anderson says, gentlemen, I have an Indian friend who I've watched multiple cricket games with and have read all the rules and a few times still don't understand all the alliterations. Thank God for baseball. Go Braves. That's what I'm saying, though. I think baseball is maybe the easiest to explain.
I have tried watching cricket, and I don't have a clue what's going on. I don't have a clue. Wait a minute. So the pitcher's supposed to bounce the ball, and then they hit it? Like, what? Does it matter how far they hit it? What's going on?
Texter from the 615 says, how many players? I left that out, right? 11 on each team, Texter. You're right. The first downs I missed, the amount of players.
11 on each team, but then there's special teams. How many on that team? Oh, well, that's also 11. Are they on the same teams? Well, yeah. What makes them special?
I know.
I know.
60 stuff. Cadillac with a very good answer. How about this one, Diesel? Cadillac says NASCAR. Drive 200 miles an hour, turn left 4 times for 400 miles or more. Try to beat the other drivers without wrecking or running out of gas. There's your winner.
Yeah, but why are they? I get it, Cadillac. Why are you stopping in the middle of the race?
That's your winner.
Why'd they stop? How come in some races, sometimes they choose to invert the field with the NASCAR All-Star race? They do their stages, and then fans vote whether or not. I don't even know if they still do it this way. They vote to invert the field.
I don't know if they vote or not anymore.
How are points awarded in NASCAR? Well, you get points for getting a pole. You get points for leading a lap. You get points for winning a stage. You get points for winning the race.
But I still think it's the easiest.
You're probably right.
Cadillac might have hit the nail on the head there. But obviously the stages, you'd have to explain the stages to someone. But he's right. You drive fast, except for this past Sunday. It was a road course, so there wasn't a lot of fast driving. But it was a really intriguing race.
I think golf is even easier to explain than that.
Oh, I didn't think about golf.
Golf, the game of golf is played outside on manicured lawns. Your goal is to get the ball from the starting point, called the tee, into the hole in as few strokes as possible. Now, if you go out of bounds, you get a penalty stroke. If you hit it inbounds, like in the sand, well, you get to try to hit it out of the sand. It doesn't cost you anything.
Is golf easier
Your goal
than
is to get it. Is it?
To explain, not to play.
Yeah,
just to be clear.
Some holes have a par of 3, a par of 4, and a par of 5. But but most major courses have an overall total par of 72. And the player with the lowest number of strokes to get it in the hole wins the tournament.
For someone who knew nothing about the sport, I think the par 4, par 3, par 5.
Yeah,
I think that might be a little confusing to some in terms of knowing
the par of the hole is based on how far it is from tee to hole,
and what shots mean, right? In terms of if it's par 3 and you make it in 3 shots, you shot par or bogey or double bogey or a birdie or eagle. God, that might be. I don't know.
The point is it's hard to explain any major sport in 60 seconds.
Yeah,
because there's things you're going to leave out.
Unless Atolo can give a better answer, I'm going to go with Cadillac. I think NASCAR might be the easiest to explain because you're right. There's a lot of rules with football. There's still rules with NASCAR, but it's not as complicated because, to his point, you drive fast and you turn left. Texter says, soccer, kick ball into net.
How long do you play? How big is the field? How many players are on each side?
Talk about that. And I don't know that soccer's easier.
I still don't even understand what offsides in soccer is. No, I get it. It's when an offensive player without the ball is between the goalie and the furthest back defenseman.
Yeah. And a defender is not allowed to come up into the.
Yes, basically it prevents any offensive player from just hanging out in front of the goal, hoping that a ball comes to him.
That's right. What makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. But you know what? I don't know. The golf and the NASCAR are the leaders in the clubhouse for me. After having to explain football in 30, or was it 60 seconds? There's no way you could explain it in 30. But after having to explain it in 60 seconds, I think the golf and the NASCAR might be for people who have never watched the sport in their life.
You said you thought baseball would be easy, but man, you got to explain balls, strikes. You got to explain how many outs there are in an inning, the going of top of the inning, bottom of the inning, ways that you can score runs, what bunts are, home runs, doubles, triples, singles, grand slams. There's a lot to explain with baseball.
I will say this, on the surface level, soccer I think is easiest. To the texter's point from the 4-3-4, surface level, same with NASCAR, surface level, I think that might be the easiest because just explaining the basics, like if you and I went somewhere and they weren't familiar with soccer, we wouldn't teach them all the other tiny little rules that come into the game. We'd teach them, hey, we have this ball. There's 5 on this team, 5 on this team, or how many, let's split them even and get it in the net. I think on surface level, that's maybe same thing with basketball, right? Surface level, we're meeting on a blacktop. It might be, I don't know. That's a good question. It's difficult to think about, but I do think for the most part, soccer, golf, NASCAR, like if, for example, if you were going to take someone and introduce them to golf, they ride it with you on the golf cart, right? Let's say they're riding shotgun with you. They're watching you play. You're not having to teach them all the bogeys and the birdies and the stroke, all that yet. They're just getting the basics down. Okay, he's starting there. He's ending there. Next hole is starting there, ending there. Golf might be surface level. I don't think football surface level is as easy to explain, but I'm going to go. I like those answers from the Tolos. I think golf is. I think soccer is. And
NASCAR, very easy.
NASCAR, yeah. You just turn left. I mean, again, people say you don't have to be athletic, and you don't have to do the certain. That's a different conversation for a different day. NASCAR takes a special type of athletes. As an athlete who drives for NASCAR, you're not asked to hit a 101 mile an hour fastball.
But you are asked to thread needles at 200 miles an hour,
which is tough. And the reason you brought this up a couple of weeks ago, the reason a lot of guys retire early is you have to be very sharp mentally as well.
Sure.
Reaction times, right? And NASCAR. So that's a big part of it. But a lot of fun there. Tolos, Don Staley joined us earlier in the show. They were on the way to Greenville. They may have made it to G Vegas by now. But in case you missed it, we will have that interview for you coming up next. Don Staley, the head coach of the South Carolina Lady Gamecocks.
Breaking news. We break the mold.
This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
We're clear.
Here's how to get in the game. On your radio at 97.7 FM, 1330 AM, Greenville. 97.1 FM, 950 AM, Spartanburg.
Listen on your phone, download the Odyssey app, and search the Fan Upstate.
There's a whole lot more to know about sound if you really want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Just say, play 97 The Fan Upstate. On your HD radio at WFBC HD3.
Oh, there's just one more thing.
And on your computer at
thefanupstate.com.
From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Weather Center. Here's the Carolinas' most trusted forecast on the Fan Upstate. Windy conditions remain for tonight. Mostly clear. We drop back to around 35. Still breezy for Thursday, but sunshine returns with a high of 58. Mostly clear for Thursday night with a low of 34. Warmer Friday, high of 63. Partly sunny and breezy. I'm meteorologist Regina Kroll on the Fan Upstate. Right now, it's 55 degrees.
We all hear the radio ads
Got
about
3
the
minutes.
IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com.
You're going to learn you don't kick the help.
Call
You got 2 minutes.
800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
This is the story of the one.
As a quality technician in a food processing center, she knows that making the right call is the best way to avoid a recall. That's why she trusts Grainger's world-class supply chain to deliver the high-quality supplies she needs to help keep her production line, her equipment, and her customers happy and healthy. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, not to be dramatic, but you should smell this. Smells so good.
Whoa, that's quite the reaction to mixing and matching Gain Scents. Let's hear another from Ashley.